Here we go.
Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right. Oh, man, what an exciting way to start the month. It's all but over for Kamala Harris, and I've got some new stuff on Kamala Harris that is brutal. We're going to get to in just a moment, but I want to tell you this. I don't know if I mentioned this on the air yesterday or not. My headphones sound really odd, Mike. I don't know if it's the head. Okay. The wire's kind of... Do I have another pair of headphones I can switch out to? Because I got to hold my thumb on it to hear. All right, so... Yeah, they're out again. The Kamala Harris campaign is evaporating. We're going to talk about this today with this new information that we have. But I want to say this before I get into that. I'm not sure if I said this on the air yesterday. I do so many different shows between my podcast and YouTube and the radio. I lose track of what I've said, but I do want to say this, and if I'm repeating it, that's okay. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, have been contacting me, telling me that I am too positive on the air about the election, that I need to be negative, that I need to depress people so that they're motivated to go out and vote. Now, another way to rephrase that is I got to lie to people, and I'm not going to do that. Things are great. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't need 100 million people to turn out. We most definitely need 100 million people to turn out to vote for Trump. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're losing to try to motivate you. And I don't know where that idea is coming from. Oh, you know, this is the kind of thing. Oh, Brian, sometimes you'll hear it in the callers, too. But I'm talking about people off the air. Oh, Brian, you're too positive. People are going to think they don't have to vote. Come on. If they're that stupid because things are going well that they think they don't have to go out and vote, that's not a MAGA person. No, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's doom and gloom and we don't have a lot of great news to share. There is a massive news story out of New York that I am going to play throughout the show today. In fact, this story, I found this right as I was leaving my house this morning. And it's so big that I changed what I was going to lead with on the program. I was going to lead with Tim Walz and Kamala and that interview, that ridiculous cackling interview that she did, which we'll talk about. But this is huge. Rasmussen, one of the most credible polling organizations out there, has been doing all kinds of polling and releasing it that no one else is doing. And that's why everything they're doing has been so accurate. And they've been doing polling in places that no one else is because they think it's a waste of time to poll there. And they've been asking questions and polling demographics that no one else is interested in talking to because they think it's a waste of time. Rasmussen just did an incredibly detailed poll in the state of New York. And I'm going to share this with you. This audio I'm going to play for you is a gentleman by the name of Mark Mitchell. Mark Mitchell is the head pollster for Rasmussen. So when it comes to polling, this guy, Mark Mitchell, is one of the most credible people in America when it comes to political polling, because he's the head pollster for Rasmussen. So let me play this for you, and it explains itself. This is amazing. I'm going to play this several times throughout the show, probably more than once in this hour. It's so big. Okay, so this is Mark Mitchell. He's the head pollster with Rasmussen with the huge results out of the state of New York.
Is only down 11 points on Harris in New York. That's incredible. And what's fascinating is Trump does pretty poorly with New York Republicans, at least compared with Harris and Democrats. But the independent signal is going really strong for Trump by 9 points. Trump doesn't do that great in the white vote, probably because of the urban vote. But in the sample, Trump's getting 40% of the black vote in New York. That is huge. And Harris is getting the Hispanic vote. Again, a smaller sample. We couldn't do everything with weighting. And 18 to 39-year-olds are breaking Harris by 13 points. Now, this is incredible. We're talking about 23 to 11. So Trump has made up, according to this analysis, over half of his loss against Biden just in the last 4 years. Now, we've been talking a lot about how, in my opinion, the battleground state polling has been lagging Trump's national numbers. And one take on that, and I think there's some truth to it, is that all of the state polling is still leaning somewhat left. I think there's also an aspect of, in the battleground states, that's where most of the Democrat advertising dollars are going. But another conclusion might be that deep blue centers are breaking Trump more than they have in like forever.
Okay. So this is absolutely amazing. And there's a couple of major takeaways that are humongous out of that. Now, I am not predicting, nor is Rasmussen predicting that Trump is going to win New York State. Okay? There's a bunch of liberal idiots up there. Let's face it. Okay? However, two things have come out of that Rasmussen poll in New York. 40% of blacks in New York who are likely voters are voting for Trump. Trump has 40% of likely black voters in the state of New York behind him. That's huge. In fact, it may be the largest amount of black support since color television was released for a Republican. Huge. So you got to ask yourself, if he has 40% of the blacks who are likely voters supporting him in the state of New York, what does that say about the black vote throughout the country? If he has 40% of the black vote in the state of New York, and a big chunk of that is in New York City, it's got to be much, much higher throughout America. That is humongous. That's basically Trump winning the black vote. You know, the Democrat Party is a collection of a bunch of groups that hate each other. They're like the United Nations. And if they lose just a little bit here and a little bit there from each of these groups, they're done. 40% of blacks that are likely voters in New York are voting for Trump, have told the pollster they are voting for Trump. You know it's higher because a lot of MAGA people won't talk to a pollster. They think it's the FBI calling. Maybe it is. You never know. And a lot of black people don't want to say that they're voting Republican when they are because, you know, all the societal pressures put upon them. So the Rasmussen poll shows 40% of likely voters who are black in the state of New York are backing Trump. It's probably closer to 50%. And then the independents, that's all the independents, that's what it's all about. 52% of independents in the state of New York who are likely voters say they're voting for Trump. The trend in Trump's favor is almost beyond measure. We have never seen a movement this large. I would estimate, comparing to 2016, the MAGA movement is 10 to 15 times larger today than it was when Trump beat Hillary in 2016. I'm telling you. Now, we're going to take our first break of this month, actually, because it's October 1st. We're going to take the first break of the month. We'll come back, more of this and your calls. There's a lot to cover. I'm Brian. This is The Steve Kane Show. Our number toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. Back after this.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott with a quick reminder that the greatest hits of the 60s and 70s are back on the radio right after 10 a.m. this morning.
That is humongous, guys. Just incredibly huge. That's the kind of thing I never thought I would ever see. If you're new, make sure you all subscribe. Oh, man. It doesn't get better than this. Oh, yes. I already have the thing set up. I just got to drop it in the track.
Good. It's your Tuesday.
There you go. I sent it in the small file size, not on purpose, just but if that's fine, let me know because it'll text better. I don't think it makes any difference, but if it does, you let me know. No.
Mexican restaurant for 33 years. Come on in for a delicious taco salad, steak quesadilla, or a cold margarita. La Bamba's located at 730 U.S. Highway 1 in North Palm Beach.
By the way, guys, I want to thank all of you who have been supporting our sponsors. A lot of you have been making purchases at Java Green Trees on Etsy. I appreciate that. They joined us on Friday as a sponsor of the program. They're a strong supporter of the program. I pinned their link at the top of the chat for Java Green Trees on Etsy. There's also a link in the description of the video. Please click that link, check out their site, buy something if you can, and also if you could share their Etsy shop link on your social media, that would be great. Free shipping on all orders. They have all the fruit and citrus you could at incredibly low prices you would ever want. All righty. Coming up on 18 minutes after the hour, I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. So if you're just tuning in, Rasmussen reports that in the state of New York, they just did a big poll in New York that just dropped last night. 52% of likely voters who are independents in New York are voting Trump, and 40% of blacks are voting for Trump in New York. I want to remind you, this is after all that Haitian cat stuff in Springfield, Ohio. And still, 40% of blacks say they're voting for Trump. This is so big, so huge. Again, don't misunderstand me. I'm not predicting a New York win for Trump, okay? But it is, if those groups and those numbers are backing Trump in liberal la-la land of New York, imagine what's going on and what the liberals call the flyover country, that they're better than. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Hey, Richie.
I want to thank you for yesterday for me, but Friday I want to lay into this so-called attorney. I won't do it today, but Friday is a big day. Please give me the opportunity Friday to chop this guy apart. Now I'm going to talk about what you just said. This is for Renee in Harlem. Okay. In World War II, there were a lot of Jews, Renee, that helped the Nazis put people into the ovens, into the gas chambers, because they were trying to save their own tail, and they were trusted. Renee and the Black Caucus and the rest of them remind me of what happened in World War II, because any black person in New York City that sees all these immigrants in the Row Hotel for $500 a night rooms, sitting there getting 3 squares a day, not working, getting debit cards, while Americans are on the street, including blacks, where they're having problems finding a place to stay and pay rent, okay? That's the real life. That's the real world. I have to think they'd have to be the dumbest group of people.
Well, what they're seeing is, I've been telling you guys this all year. First, these illegals are retired. They're retired. Everything's taken care of. And what a lot of blacks who would never vote Republican, they're pissed off because they see these illegals as getting their reparations money. So they want them out.
they're right, but what's with people like Renee that see it and are still going to stick up for Kamala?
Renee's a bum. Renee's a bum. If we knew the truth about Renee, which we never will, he's a bum. He probably has no job. He lives off of mom or somebody.
Yeah, I can't say what I think he is. He's a human creature, as Steve Kane used to say in the early days. You know, this guy, but here's a guy witnessing everything going on in New York and supports this woman. Now I watch a lot, like I watch a lot of YouTube, and I see what's going on in the black community through YouTube. I mean, they're tired of it. They see it. They're tired of it, and they're not looking at Trump.
And you know, and these 40% of these 40% of blacks in New York that say they're voting for Trump, you know, it's much higher because, as I said, one, it is so hard for black people to come out of the closet and say they're voting Republican because they're afraid. And second, a lot of conservatives and MAGA people won't talk to a pollster and tell them what they think because they think they're being spied on by the Fed. So it's probably closer to 50 in New York % of black support for Trump.
Yeah, and going to that, not just New York, and this to do with it. You see this.
Well, and keep in mind the Democrats used to have like 90% of the black support in New York. Now Trump's got 40% of it. That's huge.
Brian, they're frauds, and they. How can you hide this? How can you say things are better for everybody?
Now I want to talk about. I don't want to get too. I don't want to make it all about Greg. Okay, Greg too. You can do that on Friday, maybe. But he called in and was attacking you for having a pension from Broward County for driving a bus. For how many years did you drive the bus?
32 and a half.
Okay. Now he was calling you like a welfare recipient because you have a pension from the county.
Well, yeah. First of all, let me explain something to you. Our salary wasn't the greatest salary in the world, okay, hourly, but we knew that the state pays a pension, and your pension was actually your 5 highest average years that you had with the consecutive with the company. And you got like, if you had 30 years worth of time, you got 47%, almost 48% of it. So half of that. But what he doesn't understand is I worked for a living. I was out there sometimes 16 hours a day, and some of the worst days was I got assaulted with a knife and everything else. Greg Greg is a typical, I hate to say this, a typical lawyer. When I was a kid, the yellow pages used to be very thin. Today, they had yellow pages, it's all lawyers. They're a bunch of yappers that get a degree in law school and think they're above everybody else.
Yeah.
Snobby. I knew lawyers that get, not all of them, and some of them are just useless.
You know. I'll tell you, my wife and I, we have a friend whose daughter went to college. And she's got a graduate degree, and she thinks she's too smart to even talk to anybody in the family anymore. They
call you the common layman. He looks down on you. They look down on.
Oh yeah.
And they think they're better and that's the reason why the country is on a fritz, because these people got into Washington.
Exactly.
No common sense. Greg has
being a and I'll tell you, just full disclosure, my father was a bus driver in Columbus, Ohio when I was a kid, and my grandfather who retired like in 1970, right? Even probably earlier. He retired in the 60s. He was an old guy. He was born in 1899. He was a mechanic on the county buses, but he started when they had the streetcars pulled by horses. So my family has a lot of connection to public transportation, even though I hate public transportation and it's hard to use in Florida. But the routes that you drove down Broward Boulevard, Davie Boulevard, Sunrise Boulevard, that is like driving through South Central LA during the riots. It's pretty bad.
Right, and I drove through the riots, by the way, and sometimes up to 16 to 17 hours a day before the government cracked down on the restrictions. It wasn't an easy thing to do. Why didn't I work with my head? I wasn't crazy about college. I have the intelligence that I probably could have been a lawyer.
So how does the state pension work? You get 48% of your salary?
And if for 10 years you got to work 10 years, and at 10 years you get like I think it's like 1/3. And then 20 years it's 2/3. 30 years it's the full package, which would be about 48 point something % of your 5 highest years. So if you're 20 years, you wouldn't even get that. You get about 37.
So wait a minute, because I want to. So the state pension that you get, because you were there 32 years, is 48% a year of your highest years. Well, that's less than half. How do you live off of less than half?
Social Security.
Oh my goodness.
But let me explain something to you.
That doesn't sound like that great of a deal.
No, but I was doing fine. Well, if I knew these people were going to get in the White House and start this inflation crap. I mean, I have a nice home. I got that off of a condo sale, like you, believe it or not. I had a nice down payment here, but the house has grown in value, but so is the taxes and everything else with these crazy.
Yeah, so the pension isn't like one of those golden parachute things like Greg was implying.
Oh, Greg is a fool. I'm sorry. He's an attorney. Who cares whether you're an attorney?
Well, he says he's an attorney. People say a lot of things. Remember that one guy that used to call us and said he was a charter boat captain of yachts, and then we found out he was a process server? Remember that guy?
Right. Yeah, I do. And you don't have to be smart to be an attorney. You just have to have a good memory.
Yeah, Kamala Harris is an attorney, by the way. Kamala Harris. All right, Richie, I got to run. Thanks for the call. So Richie gets less than half. His pension is less than half of what his salary was? Oh, my goodness. Could you live on 48% of your salary? All right, we'll be right back.
Making morning radio great again. You're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
That's crazy. I would have thought the pension was higher.
South Florida's #1 choice for same-day AC service and installation. Here's your oldies forecast.
Don't worry, we're here till 9, Beach Life.
My name is Michael Marone from the All Year Cooling Weather Center.
I know, I've asked some guys. Someone told me the other day that they have a friend who's a retired sergeant in the U.S. Army. I don't know what level of sergeant they were. And that they told him their pension was $80,000 a year. I told him that's complete BS. The only ones that have a really great pension are the firefighters. But other than the firefighters, the government pensions aren't that great. Mm-hmm. All right, so our bottom of the hour break. If he was a command sergeant major, it wouldn't be $80,000 a year.
This traffic update is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Insurance makes it easy to save.
I talked to one guy a few years ago. He told me he was a staff sergeant, 20 years, and $1,200 a month or $1,600 a month he was getting. I was like, oh my goodness.
Sundays at the Paddock Restaurant with a delicious all-you-can-eat buffet and a draft beer for just $25. And get this deal for free by calling 561-683-2222 extension 199. That's great food, drink specials, all the games on over 140 HD TVs and big.
Oh, the firefighters are, at least in Florida, are rich, man. They are loaded. They're all like millionaires when they retire. They live in mansions. What a lot of them do is they start young, so they retire when they're like 40 to 45, and then they get hired by another department and get a second pension. And they have 2 pensions coming in. The police don't have a pension like that. They have And they only work 8 days a month, the firefighters.
Call right now and go over the options. 954-753-8080. Debbie can help you no matter where you're located in the state of Florida. 954-753-8080. And online, IWillAdvisors.com.
I gotta turn the air down. It's hot.
We love our Florida sunshine, but a hot house? Definitely not. At All Year, we offer same-day AC service and installation. Need it stay cool? Yes, all year. Need help today? Yes, all year. Zero down financing? Yes, all year. We're South Florida's #1 for comfort because our family is serving your family all year. Call us today at 833 all year. That's 833 all year.
If you're on hold, hang in there.
Break here. Our 6th annual cruise is coming up, and you're all invited. This time, we're sailing for 7 nights on Celebrity Cruise Line's newest ship, the Ascent to Puerto Plata, St. Thomas, and St. Martin. We set sail March 30th. We have private shore excursions, private cocktail parties, group activities. We're going to go to the shows together and much, much more. Call in at Cruise and Travel Depot right now. 561-244-5779. 561
All right, I'm coming back.
5779 and online at cruisingdepot.com to make your reservation and lock in our private group rate. Nothing comes close to Celebrity Cruises.
Now, back to the Steve. Craig, celebrating 47 years.
Alrighty, we're back. If you're just tuning in, this is huge. Rasmussen's latest report in their latest poll in New York shows that 40% of likely voters who are black in the state of New York say they're voting for Donald Trump. Huge. 52% of New York independents who are likely voters say they are voting for Trump. Now, tonight is the big debate. I wish they'd put these on earlier. 9 o'clock is really late for me. With J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. And this is a very difficult debate for J.D. Vance, I got to tell you, because there's no expectations on Tim Walz, who's just a weird... Did you see Tim Walz start playing with his private parts when he was talking to those college kids over the weekend? And then he goes to the Michigan game and gives all these MAGA people the middle finger? He's a class act. But there's actually negative expectations, like less than zero expectations for Tim Walz, and J.D. Vance has every expectation behind him. Now, I want to tell you this, and I didn't realize this. I heard some people talking about this on the news, okay? See, I don't do what others do. I don't steal other people's analysis and pass it off as my own. I heard this on Fox, and I didn't think about this. J.D. Vance has only been in politics for 2 years. Tim Walz has been in politics for about 20. So Tim Walz, this is an interesting thing. Tim Walz has been in a lot of races and in many debates. This will be J.D. Vance's like second or third debate, maybe. So J.D. Vance is a total newbie, and he's going up against a veteran hack politician with over 20 years of experience. Now, yesterday, it was leaked on CNN at a private fundraiser in New York. Tim Walz told people at this private fundraiser what his debate strategy was, and CNN reported it. They had a guy there. And what he said is his strategy will be not to answer any questions. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and try that. It's going to be a beautiful thing. All right. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Help myself a call. You know what? Challenge me in my intellectual, Juris Doctor degree, okay? Let's hear you.
No, this is not about you. No. You said terrible thing. I'll take your word for it.
Oh, okay, good. Then stop.
But what does that mean? But excuse me, what does that mean? Kamala Harris is an attorney and she's a bird brain.
You told me.
Do you know? I don't think she did. Kim Kardashian, you know what? Kim Kardashian passed the bar and she didn't even go to law school.
Kardashian did not pass the bar.
Yeah, she passed the bar.
How much did Richie contribute to his pension?
I don't know.
How much do you think?
Maybe nothing.
Thank you. What other?
I said maybe. Other than. Look, you're hysterical. Other than 32 years of sweat and dedication, that's it.
No choice.
So what?
The other different.
So what?
You know what? So what? Then he's a stupid person. If his life is in danger.
He's a stupid person? Really? You mean people that didn't go to college are stupid?
No. When you choose a profession, when your life is in danger, where knives are being put in your presence.
Well, they don't put that up on the recruiting posters for Broward County Transit.
He experienced it. He could quit at any time. The reason Richie chose that job, because he knew he had an easy way out with a pension.
Probably, I don't know why he chose it, but well, I would imagine, this is what I would imagine. Well, I know Richie, I've known him for a long time. He's gone on some of our cruises, so I've spent a couple weeks at sea with Richie. No, he's got some health issues. By the way, you're not welcome in our group, Greg. You're one of the people that's not welcome. You're not welcome. You think I'd spend a week with you? Are you kidding? You're not welcome in our group. But Richie probably... no, my wife, as many know, is seriously disabled and can't travel, is homebound, and certainly cannot leave the country. Richie probably chose to... You want to make fun of that too, by the way? Okay, like you didn't know that. I mean, you've been listening a long time. Come on. No. Excuse me. You don't know what my excuse me. You don't know what my financial situation is. In fact, no one in this audience knows what my financial Not only does no one in this audience know what my financial situation. Steve Kane doesn't even know my financial. I keep my finances. There are two people in the world who know my financial situation. My wife and my daughter. That's it. No one knows my financial situation. And that's the way I keep it. But Richie probably became a bus driver because he had a wife and a child to take care of. And when you and by the way, he served his country on the front lines of Vietnam. You want to make fun of that?
Oh, no, wait. You just said, you know what's interesting, Brian? You used to ridicule Richie for just being a cook.
No, I didn't ridicule him for it. And you want to comment on it? He cooked on the front lines under enemy fire. Imagine doing that.
And guess what? Where did he go off to? A bus driver.
What, you're better than a bus driver? What does that mean?
What I'm saying is there's...
What does that mean? What does that mean? Do you hear yourself?
So much more... There's so much more intellectually satisfying occupations than driving a bus.
What? Sure. I think, there's all kinds of opportunities out there. People choose their own way. Let me tell you something. You and I, right? If that EMP thing happened, right, and all electronics stopped, and that EMP, that electromagnetic pulse weapon, was used, and all electronics, and we were back in the Stone Ages, people like you and I with our college degrees would be done, and people like Richie and other blue-collar workers, they'd be running everything, and we'd be begging them to help us. You and I are very lucky to both make livings in professions that, don't involve, that anybody can do.
I worked on a loading dock at a Hudson's department store in Michigan when I was going to school there.
Wow. So what?
Oh, what do you have?
You were just ridiculing hard work and blue-collar workers.
I worked in land...
What are you, Hannity, with all your... It sounds like Hannity with the resume. But I want you to listen to yourself. You think you're better than a lot of people in this country because you're a lawyer? How many damn lawyers are there? I
don't know. I don't count. There's thousands.
There's too many.
Oh, including Barry Siegel?
No, he's not. He's a good lawyer. He helps people. And don't, I know you want this conversation to end, so you want to talk sponsors. So I end the call, but I want you are so twisted. You don't even hear yourself with your superiority complex over blue collar workers.
And guess what?
Why did I go to college? You asked why I went to college? I went to college originally because I wanted to have a backup in case this broadcasting career didn't work out that has about 99% unemployment in it. But it turned out pretty well.
It's from college, correct?
Yeah.
But she's a moron.
What?
Your daughter graduated from college. Oh, so higher education you don't advocate.
It's not for everyone. We need...
college education.
Not for everyone. No.
Why did your daughter do this? Why did your wife go to college? Why did you go to college?
I told you why I went to college.
No.
I just said that I was in radio. It has 99% unemployment, probably higher than 99%. And I went to college, so I had a backup. But I couldn't afford to be a school teacher. Are you kidding me? Yeah, gee whiz.
You're discounting the value of a college education when all your
most college neither of my parents went to college. In fact, I'm the first person in my family to get a college degree. My parents didn't go to college, and I'm an only child.
What? Your dad was a bus driver. What'd your mother do?
What is this? This is your life? Why don't you use your attorney fee things and look into me if you're so interested? I'm not here to tell you my whole life history or my family's history. Most of everything I've shared has been on the air many times over the years, but you're so hysterical you don't even hear yourself in your liberal arrogance who thinks you're better than people because you have a college degree. I'm here to tell you this. Some of the dumbest people I've known have advanced college degrees, and some of the smartest people I've known have never, Kamala Harris, Hunter Biden. Okay? Yes, just to name a few.
Oh, then.
Yes, we know them, and they're stupid people. Some of the most brilliant, successful people I've known in my life have never gone to college. Like the late, great Rush Limbaugh, who never went to college.
Your kids go to college, and you're saying, oh, well, you don't have to go to the dumbest people go to college. You are a moron, okay?
A what?
You are an idiot. Your daughter went to college. Tell her not to go to college and have a career.
I'm not talking to you about my daughter or her career.
Well, you're just saying that people that go to college are dumb.
No, I'm not saying that people that go to college are dumb. I'm saying this. It is dumb to go to college and, well, like when I was going to Florida Atlantic University, okay, I've got a degree in history and education, right? I can teach history and social studies and stuff. It's part of a college that has a bunch of useless degree programs in it. African American studies, women. People get degrees in women's studies and things like this. The English lit. These are things that are a waste of time. Okay, what people like Richie have are skills that most college graduates don't.
Listen, a majority of college people are business majors, econ.
No. See, you have a different type of degree. You have a very specific credential that allows you to be an attorney. A lot of people go to college and have useless degrees. What does a degree in art history get you?
Own choice.
So what I'm telling you is that's a very common degree, by the way. English literature. A lot of these degrees are completely useless degrees. They're not practical. You can't even find employment. You end up working at the Old Navy for the rest of your life with an art history degree. And that you don't go to college to work at the Old Navy.
What did you want to do when you were a history major?
What is this, an interview? All right, we're out of time. We got a break. He doesn't answer any questions. He just keeps asking and asking. My goodness. Do you hear the snobbery with the left? He'll deny he's a liberal. He's better than those of you who didn't go to college. The most successful people in this business never went to college. Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity didn't go to college. Look at them. Sean Hannity makes over $50 million a year. I know I knock him, but he makes over $50 million a year, never went to college. Rush Limbaugh never went to college. He created an entire format of radio, pretty much. Never went to college. So, no, people that go to college, some of the dumbest people I have known personally in my life, okay, have college degrees. And some of the smartest I've known barely got out of high school with even that. All right, we'll be right back.
The cold, hard truth. Delivered morning.
Safe and secure in your home? Unfortunately, millions of Americans are vulnerable to break-ins every year. But what if you can have peace of mind knowing that your home is protected 24/7? At Sloman's, we understand the importance of home security. That's why we're offering a free home security system with free professional installation. When you use our low-cost central station monitoring, our top-of-the-line systems are designed to detect intruders and alert authorities and give you real-time updates right to your smartphone. And with our state-of-the-art monitoring center, you'll have 24/7 protection from any threat. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your home and family and your valuables with Sloman's comprehensive home security solutions. Call 1-833-283-5050 today to schedule your free installation and start sleeping better tonight. Sloman's, protecting what matters most. Call 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050 now. At Sloman's, we understand the importance of home security.
Truck you have, I can get you incredible deals on any tire. I also do tire repairs at very low prices. Give me a call. My number is 954-977-9445. I will give you a price over the phone on new and used tires. Again, my number is 954.
I like how Greg thinks I'm going to tell people my financial situation. It's hilarious.
Hi, it's Kathy Green, co-host of the Jupiter Joe Money Show. Tune in Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at 6 p.m. and Saturday mornings at 7:30 a.m.
I was tying my shoes, guys.
Money Show, where we answer
I stepped on my
all
shoelaces.
about retirement, right here on your True Oldies channel.
Tom Laporta here from Laporta Contracting, Roofing, and Building Restoration.
Oh, no, that is very productive, that call with Greg. That's how the left view us. Don't you understand? The left view themselves as this intellectual elite that are superior to regular people. Don't you understand that? That call is very instructive. I'll explain that when we get back on the radio.
And every one of those customers are like family. We have installed all kinds of roofs from asphalt shingles, clay, and concrete tile, standing metal seam, slate tile, and flat roof system. So come on and let our family take care of your family. Call me on my cell at 954-604-4602 or find us on the web at laportacontracting.com. The number again is 954-604-4602.
All year, we offer same-day AC service and installation. Need to stay cool? Yes, all year. Need help today? Yes, all year. Zero down financing? Yes, all
Yeah,
year.
Charlie Kirk doesn't have a college degree.
That's 833 all year.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now, the Steve Kane Show with
All right, we are back. My name is Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. I know a lot of people think I wasted time with Greg, too. This show is sometimes more intellectual than you realize, okay? Those 12 minutes or however long I talked to Greg were not only not a waste of time, they were some of the most instructive 12 minutes in the history of this program, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. That whole conversation illustrates Well, not just that Trump's winning. That's why he's hysterical like a woman. But the other thing is, though, this is what it really illustrates. How the left view regular working American people. How much better they think they are than you. Right? They're better than you. They're smarter than you. They have an education. I'll tell you this about education. An old friend of mine who used to be pretty famous. A friend of mine, he graduated high school at the age of 11, graduated college at the age of 15, went to law school, became an attorney at the age of 18, and was the youngest attorney in the world at the time, 18 years old. And he had to wait till 18 because New York wouldn't let him take the bar until he was 18. He was the youngest lawyer in the world. You can probably look him up. I'm not going to tell you his name because he may not want to be connected with this story on the air. Okay, he's not. So he was the youngest lawyer in the world. Graduated high school at 11, right? College at 15, and became a lawyer passing the bar at the age of 18. He was in a lot of movies. He was in a movie with Jerry Lewis. He was on Johnny Carson, which was a big deal to be on The Tonight Show when Johnny Carson was on. Very famous, a lot of movies and TV shows. Old friend of mine. Not only is he a lawyer, had a law degree and was practicing law at the age of 18, he also is a research scientist who has multiple PhDs and gave up the practice of law to research something to do with eyes. One of the smartest people in America. And he's a very famous person. Been a friend of mine since... I don't know, we were friends. He's a couple years older than me. I've known him for like 35 years. And he's a very smart guy. But there was this one night where we were in Tampa, Florida, and it was late at night, and there were a group of us, all friends. He was driving. His name's Steve, by the way. I'll tell you that much. I won't tell you his last name. So you guys can look him up with that little information I gave you. There's 5 or 6 of us in a car. He's driving. It's at night. We're in Tampa. We're looking for a Denny's. It's late at night. And we're driving down this road in downtown Tampa for miles. And cars are coming by us. They're flashing their lights. They're honking their horns. And we're driving down this road 5 or 10 miles. And he's like, what is going on? I'm in the back seat. And he's like, what's going on? I don't understand. They're honking, they're flashing their lights. We're going 5 or 10 miles down this road at night. And I look out the window and I said, hey, Steve, have you noticed? The signs are backwards on this street. He said, yeah, I said, you're going the wrong way on a one-way street for 5 or 10 miles. We're lucky to be alive. And he says, oh, yeah. And then he turned around and we're going the right way. That's a guy, that just tells you, lots of education, more education maybe than anyone else I know personally, and he drove 5 or 10 miles the wrong way on a one-way road at night. By the way, completely sober, was not drunk or anything. Okay? That's how smart people are that have advanced college degrees when it comes to common sense. I know, isn't that crazy? I remind him of that from time to time when I talk. Okay, let's go to the phones. But that's how the left view you. They're intellectually superior to you. They are better than you. They're lawyers. They're doctors. If Greg was a doctor, he'd be one of those doctors that drives around with a stethoscope hanging from his rearview mirror and wearing scrubs all the time just so people know. Okay, let's go. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Yep.
Hey, I didn't know if you had me on or not. Hey, I was just calling. I was mentioned yesterday. I know it was yesterday. That Renee guy called in, man.
Yes. Renee from Harlem.
Called. Man, that guy, man, he had me on it. I was pacing the house. I've never seen anybody that's so out there like that Renee guy. And then this guy here kind of reminded me of him. You're right. I knew a couple liberals that went to college, and I went to college too. They was in there. I went to game school.
Mm-hmm.
Went there, and they was just like that guy. I mean, in there, they had their nose up in there, thought they was better than everybody else. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But I just wanted to call and say that.
Yeah, I appreciate. The thing about Renee, because how angry Renee is. Why do you think Renee is so angry?
Because he's mad because Trump's winning, probably.
Well, yeah. Well, this is what's going on. Whoever he's living off of, his mom, his grandma, a wife, a girlfriend, whoever he's living off of, okay? The excuse of the economy being so bad he can't find a job is going to disappear when Trump's back in office in January and the market's booming. He may have to actually go out and get a job.
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
No.
I just woke up and I always wake up, I get in the morning, I always put you on there, man. And,
Well, that's a good way to start your day. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for the call. All right, take care. Take care. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Jack from Sarasota. How are you?
Hey, Jack, what's up?
Well, I'm kind of surprised. I tried to call earlier, but it looks like you had the phone systems down again.
No, the phones weren't down. They're just busy.
That must have been your business.
Yeah, I know. People actually listen to the program and call in like you do sometimes, yes. I know, it's shocking.
5 more weeks until Election Day. I remember when we were talking before, and you'll have to enlighten me on this.
Now, here we go.
Polls don't really matter. So you're finding 1 or 2 polls that are in favor of Trump.
No, I've never said polls don't matter. Never said that.
Oh, how is that so? Enlighten me.
I said I don't follow polls, okay, day to day, but what I do follow is the trend with the polls. I've said this for many years, and including I follow the trends. I said most of the polls are meaningless. They're media push polls. There's a handful of polls that are actually scientifically accurate. Rasmussen's one of them. But I said what I follow with polls are the trends of the polls, and the trend of the polls are all in Trump's favor.
How is that?
Because he's winning in Florida. He's winning in Florida.
Really? Is that
really? Yes, it's true.
What about how all the rest?
Republicans, Republicans have run the entire state of Florida since 1998. You're aware of that since you live in Sarasota. We've had the governor in both houses in Tallahassee since 1998 in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that?
How was that so?
Because when Jeb Bush became governor in 1998, we won both the majority in the House and the Senate. And since 1998, Republicans have had in Florida the governor and both state houses. But you live in Florida, so you should know this.
So as far as the insurance claims that the probably thousands of people are claiming and having trouble with, how do you think that's going to affect the election when it's harder?
It'll have no effect on the election. Oh, my goodness. All right, now I want to talk about Dr. Appleton. He'll have an effect on you. Boy, if you're suffering with pain, Dr. Appleton, he can rid you of pain with his laser wave pain treatment. The laser wave pain treatment, it actually repairs the damage that's causing you pain. And that's why the 5 times he's relieved me of my pain with his laser wave pain treatment, the pain has not returned. Over 2 years ago was the first time. 2 treatments, pain gone, is not returned. His laser wave pain treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, bursitis, work injuries, sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck injuries, back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis. I don't even know what this one is. Spondylosis? What is that? That's a pain. It's on my list here from Dr. Appleton. Rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain. And that is an incomplete list. It works. And don't just take my word for it. You've heard many of our listeners call this program and tell me how Dr. Appleton has rid them of pain. We've had listeners fly in from all over the country to see Dr. Appleton. A couple of them you've heard them call me on the air. Some of them are in commercials. His laser wave pain treatment works. Dr. Appleton performs all the laser treatments himself. Appointments are not necessary, and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain. His number, 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right? Only one opening on our board. The liberals, you can tell by their attitude on the phones, they're not feeling well today because Trump's winning. Back with your calls after this.
WSFS 104.3
Oh, boy.
Progressive Insurance. Progressive Insurance makes it easy to save money. Bundle your auto policy.
Now, guys, don't forget to order your copy of Robert Allen Miltenberg's new book, The Sound of Light. It's a science fiction political book. It's also about music. It's available on Amazon. The paperback version that I have, I read this one, is just $9.99. And I like the paperback because I like the size print. That size print is the perfect size print for me. It's very easy on the eyes. It's also available in Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. And Robert Allen Miltenberg, when you go and look up his book, The Sound of Light, he's written other books that I've promoted as well. I've read all of his books. They're very, very good. So order them all. You will love them. He's a strong supporter of the program. He's in our YouTube chat all the time. And he's a great writer. So there's a link to the book in the description of the video, okay? The Sound of Light from Robert Allen Miltenberg. And he's a good guy. Let's see, where are we? If you're on hold, hang in there. Oh, I got an itch. I hate when I have that happen. I'll be back shortly, guys.
On the air since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show.
All right, there's only one opening on our very busy board. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. You know, Greg said, he was talking about Richie. He said anybody that takes a job where they put their life at risk is a moron. Really? Does that apply to firefighters, police officers, and, of course, the heroes that serve in our military? You know, didn't I tell you this call is very instructive? People think that call was a waste of time. That call is beautiful. You know, this lie that General Kelly has about President Trump calling our veterans and those who gave their life suckers and all of that, that's how the liberals think. That's suckers. That's what Greg said. People that serve in the military are morons. They take a job that risks their life. Now, if you're just tuning in, huge news from Rasmussen. Rasmussen just released a poll late last night in the state of New York. In New York, it's a poll of likely voters, by the way, which is the most scientifically accurate sample when you're doing an election poll. 52% of independent likely voters in New York are voting for Trump, and 40% of blacks in New York who are likely voters say they are voting for Trump. So we know that number is probably closer to 50. Huge news, which has really got to show a massive trend towards Trump from blacks and independents nationwide. Okay, back to the phones we go. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Brian. This is Steve from Sunrise.
Hey, Steve.
I'd like to just start by saying God bless you, Richie, and thank you for your service to this country. You are a real American, a man. As far as Greg goes, he sounds like an angry person because he's probably locked up with student loans. He's a failing ambulance chaser because classy lawyers don't talk like that about people who serve this country, people who drove a bus for a living. Because remember, Brian, I told you, I'm a firefighter. And if I told him what I'm doing for retirement, it'll probably pop his head off.
Oh, I was talking about this during the break in the YouTube live chat. While Richie has a crap pension, firefighters, they're like millionaires when they retire. And some of them they work 8 days a month, and then some of them work this racket where they get two pensions from two different departments. The firefighters got it going on.
Well, let me tell you, I mean, it's interesting that he acts like he's probably, when he goes to the party, the smartest dumb guy in the room.
Well, do any of you guys, any of you out there, you have kids or grandkids that watch SpongeBob SquarePants? My daughter loves. Okay, Ralph, remember Plankton? What's Plankton's famous line? I went to college. I went to college. Is it Plankton or Squidward that says I went to college? I went to college. Yes, is it Squidward that went to college? You guys tell me.
Mad because I think he's a fry cook.
Oh, okay. Is it Squidward or Plankton? I think it's Plankton. Plankton's the one that's always trying to steal the Krabby Patty recipe. I think it's Plankton, but it could be Squidward. But I think it's Plankton. You guys, let me know.
Besides the point, I want to tell the smart guy that I'm a firefighter, so I would say that's a physical job, and I would say that's more skill based, and we learn that when in the vocational part of it going through the academy. But however, while I'm there and throughout my career, I got my college degree. Smart guy, so you can do both, and you can achieve success. For me, to turn my nose up at anybody for their profession or what they do and call them dumb, that's just...
Well, when the shutdowns and lockdowns were going on, okay, and people were ordered to stay home, I want you to think about this. The job that I have was one of the exceptions to all of the lockdown rules in the country, because what I do for a living was deemed essential media, right? And it's I didn't like that, but if I got stopped by the cops, I'm in the media, I'm essential. If you're a stripper, okay, your job is vital to you and your family. Every job is an important job, okay, because you've got to support your family. And this idea that some people are better than others and with credentials, and give me a break.
Callers had a very condescending voice about them. I mean, Greg sounded like
they're liberals.
Contestant.
They're liberals.
Angry contestant who didn't want to get off the stage at America's Got Talent. And please, Brian, don't ever cut them off, because you absolutely make me laugh in the morning, and that's what I need. With those callers, like the guy from Sarasota, it's unfortunate I was up against a break when he called in. I would have danced with him a little bit, But I mean, what you hear from liberals is, in their mind, intellectual superiority. They think they know better than you. Oftentimes, you'll watch CNN, they'll go over the polls. Well, Trump is doing very well among blue-collar work, but with college-educated, he's not, give me a break. All right, of course I do. All right, take care. Yeah, I know, those firefighter pensions. You know where all the firefighters live? They live in Parkland. That's where they live. The firefighters, they are loaded. All right, our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine, Brian.
Oh, yeah. Greg, too, called you a moron. You're a Marine. You signed up to do a job where your life was at risk. You're a moron, according to Greg.
First of all, I want to say to Richie and all Vietnam vets, thank you for your service. They were the most horribly treated vets ever. I always go out of my way to go approach them and shake their hands. And Richie, you're an American hero. Thank you. It really upsets me, but that guy would never, ever, in a room full of combat vets, call them morons, because I guarantee you he'd have a change of life.
Well, they would. I'm sure they would speak to him and explain to him the error of his ways. But he said anyone who takes a job where their life is at risk is a moron. So that's everyone in the military: police officers, firefighters, prison guards, lifeguards. I mean, all kinds of people would fit in that moron category, right? Even an Uber driver these days, or a Lyft driver, that can be pretty dangerous.
There are a lot of educated fools that have a degree, and that's what he is. He's just a fool. He has no clue of life. He's never done anything to amount to anything.
Anybody who goes around talking about their college, Steve Kane has 2 master's degrees. Have you ever heard him mention it? And my degree, okay, is, I don't have it hanging, or it's not framed. It's like in a filing cabinet with all my other stuff. You know what I mean? With my car registrations and stuff. It's like, I don't even have it out. You know, anybody that goes around and constantly tells you they have a college degree, typically is a man who has no penis. I mean, you have to be really insecure to go around saying that all the time, don't you?
That is funny. You had me off, but I wanted to bring it back to J.D. Vance.
Oh, yes.
Let me tell you, he's a Marine through and through. He is squared away. I remember the first couple of times he spoke, like at a small press conference or something, there was a little bit of nervousness, I would say. But since it was about his third one, he is so confident and on point and can talk off the cuff just like President Trump. He is one.
And, you know, one thing they try to do with him is they try to say, yeah, he was in the Marines, but he worked as a journalist or something. Every Marine, I don't care what they do, is a trained rifleman. It's not like, this isn't the Air Force or something. Every Marine is trained as a grunt and as a rifleman too, no matter what they do.
You can talk to a couple of Navy SEALs. They had some interviews talking about when they got some Marines. He goes, they would unequivocally say, I would like to have a bunch of Marines on my team. I'll tell you what, because when they're told to do an objective, get out of the way because it's going to get done.
Now, by Greg 2 standard, those Navy SEALs are morons because they've chosen to do a job that risks their life, and that makes them a moron, according to Greg.
I was just thinking, I can't imagine this guy's married.
I don't know. There's an old saying with weirdo couples, you know, like Tim Walz and his wife. How does it go? The rocks in his head fit the holes in hers, or it can go the other way. So, you know, there's always someone. Hey, I gotta run, Jeff. Okay. All right. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Until I went to Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in my hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching, and all but disappeared. Say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. Call Lighthouse Medical Center for a free consultation. 754-222-6642. Unforgettable adventures are on the horizon aboard Margaritaville at sea. Now sailing from Palm Beach to Key West and Nassau, giving you even more time in paradise. And right now you get triple the savings when you book your next award-winning getaway. First, you're saving 40% on all cruise fares. Second, your kids are sailing for free. And third, you're earning up to $400 in free onboard credit to upgrade your escape.
By the way, guys, the sponsor of my channel here, Java Green Trees on Etsy. I have the link pinned at the top of the chat. There's also a link in the description of the video. If you're not watching live, click that link. Check out their store. They have all the fruit and citrus trees you've ever imagined at incredibly low prices and free shipping on all orders. And I know a lot of you have been making purchases from them over the last few days since they joined us. Thank you so much for doing that. And they're, of course, supporters of all of my content and everything I bring to you. So if you guys could support them, click their link, buy something if you can, or just take a look at the shop and then share it on your social media. That helps too. But Java Green Trees on Etsy. Free shipping on all orders, and the link is pinned to the top of the live chat, but if you're not watching live, there's a link in the description of the video. Java Green Trees on Etsy. Here we go.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale on 96.9 FM, and anywhere.
All righty, 16 minutes after the hour. I'm Brian. Call us on hold. Stand by. Medicare open enrollment is just a couple weeks away. We're in October now. It is the only time of year that Medicare recipients can make changes to their existing Medicare policy. You want to call Debbie at I Will Advisors. Now, while open enrollment has not begun yet, you can call now and make an appointment. Debbie Klatzoff at I Will Advisors. Her family have been here on the Steve Kane Show since 1993, helping Steve Kane listeners each and every year with their Medicare. They do great work. I was just talking yesterday. Debbie at I Will Advisors helped Al Knight. A lot of you know Al Knight. He goes way, way back with us, in South Florida radio. He's the weekend guy here on True Oldies. His mother, he took his mother over to Debbie at I Will Advisors, and she saved him $400 a month. She saved his mother on her Medicare supplement. That's amazing. $400 a month. That's a car payment, man. That's a lot of money. She can help you, too. She reviews and helps Steve with his policy each year during open enrollment period. Her number, 954-753-8080. No matter where you are in the state of Florida, she can help you. If you call now and you get an answering machine, leave a message with your phone number and your name, and she will call you back. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080. Okay, so if you're just tuning in, Rasmussen poll shows 40% of black likely voters in the state of New York say they're voting for Trump. Huge story. All right, let's go back to our phones. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Ben from Papado.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, I wanted to call in and say something about Greg, too. That guy is such an elitist snob. If you look up the occupations with the highest rate of on-job workers, nowhere in that list is bus driver, okay? It's things like loggers and miners, dump truck drivers, construction workers. All these jobs are at a much, much higher risk.
Now, I don't know if this is still true, but years ago, you know what the deadliest job in America was? I'm not kidding. Farm workers. Farm workers. Farmers. Are they, a lot of dangers on a farm. Are they morons too?
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. That's the elitist part of him. We need bus drivers. We need these people. And, how are you going to look down on them? They're an important function of society. There's constantly these people beating their chest about the muscle class and the people who have to take a shower when they get home. Those are the people.
I mean, it's what I told Greg, okay? If that, he didn't even know what an EMP was. I had to tell him the electromagnetic pulse. If that EMP weapon knocked out everything, people like me would be, what would I do? Stand up on a box and start yelling? There's no radio, there's no internet. I talk for a living. What am I going to do? It's people that are skilled labor that would keep the world going.
Yeah. There is an entire army, a cohort of men. While everyone goes out, the laptop class, people who go to their offices, there's an entire army that fills every single neighborhood, keeping things, infrastructure, service, maintained, supported. Everything we have they're in the background. You don't see them, but they're keeping everything running. And for him to come on like the snob that he is, such looking down his nose at people like an elitist, you're not better than them because they chose a different life and path, and a path in life. And the path they chose is necessary. We need public transportation. Who's going to do it? We're just going to spit on everyone who does these jobs that we need? So I don't know what his deal is. What is he, like a Better Call Saul, lawyer?
Well, there's some jobs that are necessary. I take bus drivers as an example because that's what started this, right? It does not pay a lot of money, and I was surprised what a sad pension that 48% of his 5 highest years is Richie's pension, he revealed. That's not a lot. But a lot of these jobs that do take skills, they don't pay a lot of money, but the perk is you get a pension to supplement your Social Security after 20 years. He did it for 32. Not every job makes what a lawyer makes, okay? But I have never heard someone so out of the closet about how superior intellectually they believe that they are. Have you? I've never heard something like that.
I know that's a complete champagne socialist limousine liberal attitude. That's what made me so disgusted with the Democrats and why I left, because they were they were no longer the party of the working class. And another thing, you're absolutely right about firefighters. They're spoiled rotten. Those guys get I don't know what deal they work.
And we're not talking about firefighters in Chicago or New York that are going in high rises. I mean,
You know, like I know a firefighter, and he's already a millionaire, and he's like in his 30s.
They're all millionaires. They're all millionaires.
It's insane. It's insane. Those guys are spoiled rotten. But what?
Yeah.
There's
And they work 8 days a month. 8 days a month.
Goes on. This guy, he's the guy I just referenced. He's constantly on these like 6-week American road trips because he's constantly doing these swaps where like, you know, there's this spreadsheet that everyone can go to, and you can swap a day with another guy, and he lines them all up. So.
See, I don't know how it is now, okay? Because things with DEI, there's no qualifications to do much of anything. But when I was young, I've mentioned this. My father is a disabled firefighter. He got hurt very severely in a house fire that it was a home, someone's house with kids. And I was going to be a firefighter. But back then, in the 80s and 90s, you had to rappel repeatedly off the top of water towers. Those big water towers. And I there's no way I could do that. I might as well jump out of a building, you know, out of an airplane with a parachute. I couldn't do that either. So firefighting wasn't for me because I'm not rappelling off a water tower. It's just not going to happen, man. But, you know, but they are spoiled. 8 days a month. They're all millionaires. Oh, yeah. And I know multiple firefighters that have 2 pensions. They retire when they're in their early 40s. Then they get hired by another department, and they'll do 10 or 15 years there, and then they got 2 pensions.
What a cushy job too, because most of these guys are just
cushy. He said cushy, by the way. Did he say cushy? I better hit the dump button because Mike and I both looked at each other. I think he meant to say cushy, but might have slipped with something else. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. I got to wait for the delay to build back up. But I do want to try to get things back on track. Not only is Trump winning big, he's winning everywhere, right? The latest poll, and we were talking yesterday, the latest poll in Pennsylvania has Trump winning. The internal poll leak that we got from the Democrats in Michigan shows that Trump is winning in Michigan. North Carolina, I think it's fair to say, is no longer a swing state after Kamala Harris has abandoned them in their time of need after this god-awful storm. And now this poll from Rasmussen that shows in the state of New York, of likely voters, 52% of independents in New York are voting for Trump. 40% of blacks in New York who are likely voters say they're voting for Trump. And you got to understand, a lot of conservatives, a lot of MAGA people will not tell a pollster, okay, especially blacks. For a black person to tell a pollster they're voting for Republican, a lot won't do it. They're afraid to do it. A lot of peer pressure on that. So I would guess his black support, you got to add maybe 10 points to that in New York. He's got about 50% of the black likely voters voting for him in New York. According to Rasmussen, I'm adding 8 or 10 points to that, but their official number's 40%. 40%. Usually, the Democrats have 90%, 85 to 90% of the black vote in the country. Now Trump's got it down to 40 in New York, liberal New York. That's amazing. All right, delay is re-engaged. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
But it's Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
First thing I'd like to say is you may want to change something. On behalf of the Audubon Society, by saying that she has a bird brain is demeaning to birds. So she's
okay.
She's not nearly as smart.
Well, the dumbest creature we have in Florida are the iguanas. But I don't think people would get iguana brain. I don't think people realize how stupid iguana. They run towards the cars on the street, not away.
Yeah, she has rocks in her head, be more accurate, I think. But anyhow, back to the blacks. Just so happens yesterday I had 4 black people working on my property. And I came out with my MAGA hat on. Oh, you love Trump? I said, why, you don't love Trump? Yeah, we love Trump. All 4 of them love
Oh, this is interesting. So you're a white guy. You're overseeing 4 black people working outside in your yard. Oh, my goodness. The optics, Doug. The optics of that.
Yeah. I would hire anybody, but those are the guys who got the job. But anyway, they just love President Trump. Love him, man. They love him as much as I love him.
That's awesome.
And then it's talking about how the economy is so terrible now compared to what it was. So they're smart. They know what they're talking about. And I think that's the whole damn country is going to be voting for President Trump.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Appreciate the call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Yes. Hello. You're on the air. Yes. Caller.
It's your friend David from Haik. Out of Guadalajara. In a while.
David from Mexico. Okay, what's up?
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about, I graduated with a degree in East Asian history from the University of Denver, but fortunately, we're on quarterly hours, and I had a major in business.
Okay.
And I went to work for a trust company at $600 a month.
Oh, my goodness.
1972. And while working for the trust company, they paid for my MBA at the University of Louisville.
Uh-huh.
So then I took the CPA exam, worked for a big 8 accounting firm, to do all over again. And I have counseled young people graduating from my high school. I said, go to trade school and
yes.
GP and be an airline mechanic and start out nowadays at about $65,000.
My number one recommendation would be because I'm in Florida, plumbing and AC repair, but in particular plumbing. And let me tell you, plumbers they make almost as much money as firemen. I mean, they make plumbers, and this is very, very true. A friend of mine who's a financial advisor, this is not Joe Thomas, somebody I know who's a financial advisor told me that their clients who were plumbers have bigger portfolios than the doctors. And I'm not talking about people that own plumbing companies. I'm talking about like independent plumbers. So that's where it goes. All right, listen, I gotta run for the break, but thanks for the call. We'll be right back.
Making morning radio great again. I think you're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. The greatest rock and roll hits of the 60s and 70s coming up this morning. From the all-year cooling weather center, South Florida's #1 choice for same-day AC service and installation. Here's your oldies forecast.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Marone from the All-Year Cooling Weather Center. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, and right now it's 77 degrees outside. As we go throughout the day, though, temperatures are going to reach as high as 89 degrees, with partly cloudy conditions expected to start around 11 a.m. So make sure you stay cool, stay hydrated, and have a wonderful, safe start to your Tuesday.
Weather brought to you by All-Year Cooling.
Game Day's the only one this hour?
Yes.
Okay. And then in the 8 hour, what do we have? So I gotta, just so I can pace what I'm doing.
Sloman's and Angel Water.
Okay.
Heads up for a crash now blocking a left shoulder 95 south approaching Point Beach Boulevard. Stop for delays in Piper Left.
Yeah. And there's no Joe Thomas?
No.
Okay. Okay. But remind me in the next hour, I just wanted to make sure there were two. So I know I got to do something else here because I'll forget.
Resort, merging Eastern principles and Western luxury. Integrated health offerings include targeted health assistance assessments in personal wellness, nutrition, bio-well energy flow, and metabolic fitness. Take a few days to let the experts at Amlet guide you, with services including pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, red light therapy, and dry flotation meditation. Fine dining is available at the oceanfront restaurant Tula, unlike anything else in Palm Beach County. Experience their 4-story wellness spa with endless treatments designed to detox and relax. Explore all available offers at amritocean.com. That's AMRITOcean.com.
It's the MyPillow blowout sale of all time. Get the MyPillow that started it all for just $14.95 with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout. It's made in the USA and comes with a 10-year warranty. Don't wait. Order yours right now. Go to mypillow.com/Kane. That's mypillow.com/Kane. And use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout.
Hi, I'm Sloan Smith. We love our Florida sunshine, but a hot house? Definitely not. At All Year, we offer same-day AC service and installation. Need to stay cool? Yes, all year. Need help today? Yes, all year. Zero down financing? Yes, all year. We're South Florida's #1 for comfort because our family is serving your family all year. Call us today at 833-ALL-YEAR. That's 833-ALL-YEAR.
Brian Craig here. If you're a homeowner, business owner, or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting with a AAA credit rating and bonded up to $10 million. Contracting doesn't need a large deposit like those other contractors do. Typical deposits other contractors want are 1/3 of the contract. If your job is $30,000, that's a $10,000 deposit. If your job is $300,000, it's $100,000. What are they doing with your money? Typically, it takes 3 to 4 weeks to get a permit, and HOAs, much longer. If they need money for the materials, they don't have credit with the suppliers, and that spells bad news for the homeowner or HOA. Tom Laporta is honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Contracting has been in the roofing and contracting business since 1988, and his services cover the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. Tom Laporta can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing and repair, commercial roofs, schools, municipal buildings, office buildings, emergency repairs. If it's roofing, Tom Laporta can do it. Call Tom Laporta right now on his cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaContracting.com.
Now, back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right, 34 minutes after the hour. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. I'm going to recap the big story today first, but I want to tell you, last night I canceled Netflix again. But I canceled Netflix, and I'm not alone. Many millions of people have canceled Netflix this week. The guy that runs Netflix came out and endorsed Kamala, and millions of people throughout America have canceled Netflix. Now, I canceled them once before, years ago, when Obama left office. Netflix signed this multi-million-dollar deal to produce content with the Obamas, and I canceled Netflix then. But then I got it back to watch Squid Game, okay? And I never got rid of it. And they did something a few months ago. I should have canceled it then, but a lot of these apps, it's hard to figure out how to cancel them. You know, some apps you can just look on your iPhone. It shows you what you're subscribed to. But if you subscribe to them on your television, sometimes it can be hard to figure out. But Netflix had a documentary on a few months ago about Hitler, and they referred to Hitler's house up on the mountain in the Alps. They referred to it as Hitler's Mar-a-Lago. Can you freaking believe it? And I went to cancel it then, but I couldn't figure out how to cancel it. And then yesterday, with this, I read an article that said millions have been canceling Netflix, over the guy running Netflix endorsing Kamala. And then I said, we got to cancel it. And then we found out it was the account was on a different name and email. It wasn't under mine. It was under my wife's and a different email we don't use anymore. And it took about 20 minutes, but we canceled it. And I don't know if any of you have done that. Maybe you canceled it years ago with the Obama. You know, there's not much on Netflix worth watching anyway, really. It's not that... they got this... I'm in the middle of this really good documentary series on Wyatt Earp, but whatever. Okay, I know how that story ends. But that's it. I mean, really in your face. And Netflix... that's the kind. But the story of the many millions who have canceled Netflix is another poll, right? You know, I remember when there was a government shutdown during Obama. Remember this? And Netflix in the D.C., Virginia area went down because all the government workers were home and they were Netflixing and chilling, and it crashed Netflix. For millions of people throughout the United States, on a dime and on a day, without any organization, to automatically cancel Netflix because the guy that runs the company endorsed Kamala Harris. That's an incredible poll, and it's very scientific as well. So I thought that was pretty good. So, but what I started off with today, at the top of the show at 6, I want to recap because this is huge. Most of the polls that are out there are nonsense, okay? They're fake polls put out by the media, okay? And they're push polls to either push an agenda or have something to talk about. It's like, you know, like back in the 50s and 60s, they used to have those commercials like for Camel cigarettes. Camel cigarettes, the recommended cigarettes by most doctors. Remember those kind of polls? Remember that? It's true. Most of the polls aren't worth anything. A handful are. And one of those polls that is worth something is Rasmussen. It's one of the more credible polling outfits out there. I'm going to play you this audio. The man you'll hear speaking, his name is Mark Mitchell. Mark Mitchell is the head pollster with Rasmussen. So he's a top pollster. And I pulled this one clip off. He did a very long explanation of this that goes on for about half an hour. But I pulled off what I thought was the most important part. Rasmussen just did a poll in the state of New York, and he said none of the other major pollsters are polling in New York because they feel it's a waste of time. It's just a blue state. And he says maybe it is a blue state still, but there's some incredible data that they've come out with. So I'm going to play it for you now, and then I'll talk. I led the show with this at 6, but this is to me the big story of the morning. So this is Mark Mitchell, the head pollster for Rasmussen, going over their latest poll out of the state of New York.
Trump is only down 11 points on Harris in New York. That's incredible. And what's fascinating is Trump does pretty poorly with New York Republicans, at least compared with Harris and Democrats. But the independent signal is going really strong for Trump by 9 points. Trump doesn't do that great in the white vote, probably because of the urban vote. But in the sample, Trump's getting 40% of the black vote in New York. That is huge. And Harris is getting the Hispanic vote. Again, a smaller sample. We couldn't do everything with weighting. And 18 to 39-year-olds are breaking Harris by 13 points. Now, this is incredible. We're talking about 23 to 11. So Trump has made up, according to this analysis, over half of his loss against Biden just in the last 4 years. Now, we've been talking a lot about how, in my opinion, the battleground state polling has been lagging Trump's national numbers. And one take on that, and I think there's some truth to it, is that all the state polling is still leaning somewhat left. I think there's also an aspect of in the battleground states, that's where most of the Democrat advertising dollars are going. But another conclusion might be that deep blue centers are breaking Trump more than they have in forever.
Okay, so I played that whole thing, but I know there's a lot of numbers and stats and stuff in there. But there's two major takeaways. This is a poll of likely voters out of New York State. 52% of likely voters in New York State who are independent are telling pollsters they're voting for Trump. That's huge in New York. But the other one that's even bigger, again, this is likely voters. 40% of blacks in the state of New York who are likely voters, 40% told the pollster that they're voting for Trump. He has 40% of the black vote saying they're going to vote for him in the state of New York. That is unheard of. Remember, Democrats usually get 85 to 90% of the black vote. And in a blue state like New York, a lot of times like 95%, 92%. So this is huge. And the other thing you got to factor in, I believe if the poll comes out, and I trust Rasmussen, if they say 40% of likely voters who are black are voting for Trump, I would add 8 to 10 points to that. Because again, I know if a pollster calls me, I'm not telling them a thing. Because MAGA people think that the pollsters could be the feds, and they don't want to talk to them. And black people who are conservative and are going to vote Republican, because just because they're voting for Trump doesn't mean they're Republican. Blacks who are going to vote for a Republican keep it to themselves, stay in the closet because they're afraid to let people know because, there's, how liberals are. You hear them on the phone sometimes. So I would say if Rasmussen's giving him 40% of the likely black vote in New York, I would say it's got to be 48 to 50. That's huge. Now, this is not a predictor that Trump is going to win the state of New York, but it gives us an interesting trend as to what's going on with both blacks and independents nationwide. And if he's polling that well with blacks in hardcore, liberal, blue New York, what's going on in the rest of the country? This is fantastic what's going on. Yesterday, and I've had this theory that everyone tells me I'm nuts about, is that the deep state are on Trump's side in this. And I'm not going to go through my whole theory on why I believe that, other than CNN they ran Biden out of the race, didn't they? CNN and CIA, and they ran Biden out of the race, and they put up Kamala as a sacrifice candidate. This story that I'm going to play for you, this is CNN yesterday, after Trump's visit to Georgia. Now, Trump wanted to go to North Carolina, but he couldn't because of the damage there. It was too disruptive and difficult for him with the security he has and everything to go to North Carolina. But he donated $25 million, and he's raised many millions more through Franklin Graham. And my wife and I, we've even donated to Samaritan's Purse, which is Franklin Graham's organization that's helping in North Carolina and the other states hit. But when Trump, and keep in mind, Kamala, what did she do? She went to FEMA. She talked for a couple minutes with some prepared statements she was reading. She didn't even have them memorized, and then she walked away and left. Okay? Trump was on the ground. He was briefed by FEMA. I saw him talking to the National Guard and other local officials. This is CNN yesterday on Trump's visit to the areas hit by the hurricane. CNN!
Being treated not just as a former president, but almost as though he is a sitting president. As Boris, you just noted, getting a briefing from FEMA, getting a briefing from the National Guard. That is not something that is typically just offered to a candidate. They are treating him as though he is a former president who is there to help. And one thing that I had noticed earlier during our 1 p.m. conversation was that Donald Trump did not have that much to offer in terms of resources since he is not a sitting president. But I will note that he and the campaign say that they have arrived in that area with trucks full of supplies that they plan on giving out. So there is something there for them to offer. He also said that he had a tanker truck full of gasoline, which obviously, if you've ever covered one of these storms, you understand that one of the first things and hardest things to come by is gasoline. So he said that he was going to be giving that out. He is clearly taking this seriously as a politician is on the ground, trying to show that he is there in support of the people on the ground in Georgia.
Okay, so that's CNN praising Trump, saying he's acting as if he's the president and been treated like he's the president. Biden said yesterday, he was asked by a reporter, are you going to send any more help? He said, no, we planned in advance. This is what they got. Kamala, she released a photograph on Twitter on Air Force Two. Did you see this? She had the headphones in with a wire, and it wasn't plugged into her phone, acting like she was involved in it was very bizarre. She's done nothing. Trump gave a tanker of gas, $25 million of his own money, and has raised many millions more for all of the areas hit. And he's being praised by being presidential by CNN, who hates They've never been a Republican they didn't hate. It's over for Kamala. We'll take our last break of the second hour and be back.
A cold.
with his laser away pain treatment. Shoulder injuries, arthritis, knee pain, all gone, and more.
He is being treated not just...
Monica called me live on the radio to tell me how Dr. Appleton rid her of pain.
Well, my name is Monica. I'm from Boca. I'm calling because several weeks ago I had a lot of pain on my knee, and I went to see Dr. Appleton. He released me from my knee pains. I can walk. And this week I went to see him. I had excruciating pain on my hand, and I had a treatment. And I just wanted...
Honestly, I don't know how you did not have a formal press conference.
Call Dr. Appleton right now and say bye-bye to your pain too. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. Online, AppletonCairo.com. When it comes to dental work, there's no one better than Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. But don't just take my word for it. This is Richie the bus driver. He called in on the air to share his experience with Dr. Gupta. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Richie. Dr. Gupta. I go 139 miles to this guy. I had a broken tooth. He fixed it with special kept on. It lasted 2 years. He put dentures in my mouth that are a lot cheaper than anybody else. And he's excellent and no pain. I recommend this guy. To me, he's the best ever. So I want to get that out of the way.
Listen to Richie the bus driver. Go see Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. 954-922-4633. 954-922-4633.
Hey, my true oldies listeners, John Tesh here with some intelligence for your retirement this time. When you're looking for a retirement advisor, you know trust and experience are two big qualities to look for. And as it turns out, my friend Jupiter Joe Thomas possesses both of these. Whether you're in retirement or looking to retire, I want you to give local expert Joe Thomas a call. Here's the number, 561-743-0999. Or, even simpler, you can go to JupiterJoe.com. Mention my name, John Tesh. You'll receive a free copy of Joe's book, Retirement Know-It-All. Great book. Call 561
Hey, how's it going?
Or remember, go to JupiterJoe.com. That's JupiterJoe.com.
Attention seniors. Are you not happy with your current Medicare plan? If not, give Debbie at iWheel Advisors a call. 954-753-8080. That's 954-753-8080. There are almost already plans, and you can enroll in the middle of the year. That's right. You don't have to wait for a pandemic. Debbie and her family have been taking care of Steve Kane Show listeners since 1993. Debbie even handles Steve Kane's Medicare. So if you're not happy with your current Medicare plan, give Debbie a call right now and go over the options. 954-753-8080. Debbie can help you know where you're located in the state of Florida. 954-753-8080. And online, ActicFox.com.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show.
All right, callers on hold, stand by. The countdown has begun. We've got a lot of great news that I've been sharing today. My name is Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Joellen from Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, Joellen.
Hey there. You know, I've never been a big believer in polls, but this election, I am believing what they're saying, what you're saying. So I'm just hoping that everybody gets out, and actually votes versus just saying, yeah, I just want Trump.
Well, the thing with the polls, every election, Steve and I always have this disagreement about the polls. And I always tell Steve's a gambling addict, okay? Steve's been gambling so long, this is not a joke, that he outlived his bookie, and his current bookie is the son of his previous bookie, okay? That's not a joke. That's a true story. So when you're a numbers guy, you're into, polls. However, with poll, and Steve has this saying that is very true, figures don't lie, but liars can figure, okay? But what you look at, there's two things to look at with polls that are very important. Number one, you look at the trend. And regardless of the polls, if you look at them as a whole, where's that trend leading you? Everything is in Trump's favor. There's a handful, most polls are total crap. There's a handful of polls, Rasmussen's one of them, Nate Silver's another, there's a handful of pollsters who make a living out of being accurate pollsters, and they do more than just politics. Like if you're the company that owns Jell-O, and you have a new pudding coming out, you'll hire Gallup or Rasmussen to do a poll on people who have tried your new pudding to see who likes it or not, right? So when it gets close to the election, the credible pollsters like Rasmussen want to be as accurate as possible so that they have credibility as a business because they're in the business of doing polls. So there's some when you get close that you can look to. Rasmussen is one of them.
Right. Yeah, I know they're well known. So
it's not just being well known. When the next election comes around, the real pollsters like Rasmussen and Nate Silver and others want people to say, well, Rasmussen, that predicted 8 of the last 10 elections since 1976 with accuracy, says this. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I should have said credible. Yes, I know they're credible. So that was my point. I'm just hoping that everybody gets out and actually votes.
Yes.
A lot of people do love Trump. I was so proud to see him in Georgia yesterday. You know.
Mm-hmm. Isn't Kemp a weak? Kemp is such a weak little man, isn't he? He is such a pathetic, weak little man.
I didn't see him. But
Trump had his press conference and said that Kemp's having a hard time getting Biden on the phone. And it seemed like 10 minutes later, Kemp's like, I talked to him yesterday. Yeah, but he didn't get him on the phone right away. There was phone tag going on. So Trump was right. But Kemp is like Greg, too, in the first hour, incredibly insecure. He wanted everybody to know that he could eventually get the president on the phone.
Yeah. Well, Biden has been saying, oh, yeah, we're going to be there for them till the end and everything. I said, you know what? I heard that about Afghanistan, too. Crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well, one thing I just wanted to say is, last week when I called in about the prostitution, my biggest point was not that I supported legalization of prostitution, but it was not going to be a career-ending issue for her. That was my biggest point, I guess. So.
Oh, I thought you may say it may be a future career for her when she loses. Okay, I appreciate the call. All right. Let's see. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. This is Barbara in Baltimore.
Hey, Barb.
Today.
Thank you.
Just wanted to, before I talk about President Trump being down in Georgia, I'd just like to say I'm very, very excited about 40% of blacks are going for Trump.
In New York.
I think it's more than, I think it will be more than that, and I think it will be nationwide. There are very few Renees left in the world who are so dumb that they can't see that Donald Trump is the only person, along with J.D. Vance, that's going to save this country. But I have family in Georgia. They're really bad off down there. I didn't realize just how bad. My family lives in Savannah. He was there last week, and I was like, wow, I wasn't, because that would have been a good time to go visit. But in any event, they were very excited about his visit. And the reason why FEMA and all the groups are talking to President Trump is because they know what he does. They know that he's going to get the job done. That's why they're briefing him. Why does it? And when Kemp said that he talked to Joe Biden on the phone, Joe Biden should have been in the White House in the Situation Room with the phone, talking to every governor of every state where that storm.
Yeah.
to make sure that they need it. And that
and Kamala, she goes to FEMA, she talked for 5 minutes, read a statement, looking down, reading, and then walked out. She didn't do a damn thing.
Going to be in trouble if these people get in office. And if I say this about this masculinity thing, I don't know where. I don't know. You know, Donald Trump is an alpha male. And for real women who like men, and I'm not talking about the, you know, pink and purple hair girls who, you know, like them sometime and then they do other things other time. Real women love alpha males because alpha males get the job done. They take care of it. When a woman has an alpha male, you don't worry about things. You're not going to worry. You don't worry about.
Well, most women aren't lesbians, and these guys that these guys that they're producing now are just, they're like women. They're like, hey, listen, I got to run, Barbara, but you're right. I think men, I think there's a future for men. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Yes, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, this is Joan from Tampa Bay.
Hey, Joan.
The day after the storm, I tried to, get online with FEMA. They had nothing about Hurricane Helene. Finally, Sunday, they had a thing for Hurricane Helene. Monday, I got an email from FEMA because I got a tree on my house.
Oh, that'll help. An email. That'll get that tree out of there.
Yeah. Well, so I called FEMA, right? My son is Army National Guard. He's now doing door-to-door search and rescue. So you know what FEMA told me? The President of the United States has not called Hurricane Helene a disaster.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
yeah, but I tell you what, if cocaine and hooker prices go up, that would be a disaster. I bet you. All right, hey, I appreciate your call. That's so typical. You got to wonder, what would I look like and be like if it were not for the radio station, right? First off, I'd have arthritis in my hand. I would be getting around basically on a cane with my knee pain. My shoulder would be wasted. I'd be drinking poison water in my home, and my testosterone would be at incredibly low levels, and I'd be asleep on the floor ready to go to bed. I've been totally reconstructed by the radio station here. And, of course, I'm talking about Game Day Men's Health. And I know a lot of people, when they talk about things like this, they say low T. They don't want to say, if you, like me, had low testosterone, if you have low testosterone, you've got the signs and symptoms, you just don't realize it. Are you tired? You got fatigue all the time, lack of motivation, loss of strength, can't lose weight, erectile dysfunction, decreased libido. That means you're not interested in sex, by the way. Brain fog, not sleeping well, anxiety, depression, having memory issues. Very well, if you're an older guy, over the age of 35, you probably have low testosterone. I'm going to give you the number for Game Day Men's Health. Give them a call. They'll test your testosterone right in the office. They did me, and mine was so low. Oh, boy. I started my testosterone treatments right away, and today it's been a month. And I got my life back. I can't tell you how much more productive I've been. And, my testosterone levels have been restored to where they were when I was in my early 20s. It's absolutely amazing. And I know you guys listening to this program, you can tell the difference. My wife noticed it right away. I started on Tuesday, that first weekend. She says, you're like the Brian 10, 15 years ago. And now it's like Brian 20, 25 years ago. It's amazing. Give Game Day Men's Health a call. Here's their number, 561-355-5341. Hey, and don't feel bad if you have low testosterone. That's just part of growing older. It happens to all men. Women go through menopause. Male menopause is what causes our low testosterone. It's called andropause. 561-355-5341. 561-355-5341. Give them a call and get your testosterone back up to the levels that it was when you were in your 20s, like me. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll be back right after this. Steve, you there?
Yes.
Okay.
We got Siegel next. I'm going to put the two live spots in.
Cooling.com to schedule your service today. And remember, the All Year family is here to serve your family all year long. And now, a True Oldies traffic check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Traffic, a service of the Palm Beach Kennel Club. Check out exciting poker room action with the $100,000 guaranteed Monster Multi-Flight Tournament this week, October 3rd through the 6th. Plus daily cash games, high hands, mega bad beat jackpots, and table game fun featuring ultimate Texas Hold'em and three-card poker. BBKC is also your best bet for OTV action with big races from Keeneland, Santa Anita, and more. For more information, go to pbkennelclub.com.
Brian Craig here. When it comes time to get my blood work done, I don't have time to spend hours in the doctor's office or waiting hours in one of those big lines.
All right.
The lab test now at Coral Springs for all of my lab work. Their techs are highly skilled and professional, and their prices are guaranteed to be the lowest on lab work you'll find anywhere. Appointments aren't necessary. Doctor's orders and prescriptions, they're not needed either. I'm in and out in 15 minutes or less. I get the results the next day in my email box, and they also send to my doctor. There's a lot of many lab test now available. Even the other two advertising local radio station. So don't use the rest. Only go to any lab test now at Boca and any lab test now at Coral Springs. Any lab test now at Boca is in the Sandalwood Plaza. That's where the Western Beef is, between Palmetto Park Road and Hillsborough Boulevard on the east side of State Road 7 or 49. Any lab test now at Coral Springs is on the southeast corner of University and Redwood at the Coral Square Mall. Call any lab test now at Boca at 561-237-5009. Any lab test now at Coral Springs number is 954-906-5983. And don't forget to mention that you heard about them on the radio.
Oh my goodness. I just somebody just sent me something.
On the air since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show.
All right, the third hour has begun. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve. Oh, wait, hold on. There you are. Hey, Steve. I have to hit the on button. You can hear me now, right? Okay, that's good. Oh, man. Today's show has been exciting. It's flown by. And I got to recap because there's so many great things have happened. Unless you have somewhere you wanted to go. Now, one of the highlights, we got a very sad call. You know, we've heard from a couple liberals today, Steve, and they've all been unhinged, to say the least. Greg Two's call was really revealing. Oh, he said anyone who, he was talking about Richie, but he said anyone who takes a job where they put their life at risk is a moron, which I guess that includes our soldiers, our military people. I don't know. But what's triggered these liberals into these incoherent ramblings of, well, in that case, a little so incoherent they're being honest, are these new polls from Rasmussen out of the state of New York. And there's a Rasmussen, they did a very detailed poll of likely voters in New York. And they said that the other legitimate polling organizations aren't polling New York because they think it's a waste of time because it's a blue state. And they said it may still be a blue state, but there's some interesting data that's come out. And there were two things in particular. This is among likely voters in the state of New York. 52% of independents in New York are voting for Trump, according to the poll. 52% of independents. That's unheard of in New York. It's unbelievable. But the better number is blacks. Likely voters who are black. 40% of black likely voters in New York say they're voting for Trump. 40%. Now, keep in mind, in a state like New York, typically the Democrats get between 85 and 92% of the black vote. Trump has 40% of the black vote in the state of New York among likely voters. I believe you got to add 8 to 10 points to that because a lot of black people that are voting Trump might be afraid to admit it, right? That's huge. Now, that's not to say New York's going to go for Trump. It may. But it gives us an indication of where the independents and the black votes are going in this election cycle. And it's obviously in the direction of President Trump. And so some of the toss-up states are now Trump states. Pennsylvania, the latest polls all are giving it to Trump. Okay? We had that poll yesterday that leaked out from the Democrats. The internal poll, remember I played that Zoom call I played on the show yesterday. The Democrats' internal polling says Trump is beating Kamala in Michigan. And I think after the way Kamala has done nothing for North Carolina, I think North Carolina we can now put in the Trump column too. So things are going very well for us, Steve. Oh my goodness, I'm very excited. Well, let's go back to the phones. We've had some great calls today. We haven't heard from a caller of color, so I'd like to hear one of our black callers that's liberal. We've heard from Barbara, but she's a MAGA. I want to hear from one of our Democratic callers of color and their response. 40% of black likely voters in New York say they're voting for Trump. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah, New York. That's crazy. All right, let's. I never thought I'd see such a thing. It's true though. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Yes.
Oh, hi. Good morning. It's Marcus. Marcus from Connecticut.
Hey, Marcus.
Oh, hi. I wanted to call in because I agree with Barbara from Baltimore. Because in New York, I'm in Connecticut, but I'm on the border of New York City. And I was born and raised in New York City. And when I go back to my home, back to New York City, the black community is completely not for Harris and Walz. They're actually embarrassed to even say they supported Joe Biden and Harris in 2020. I actually went to the rally in the Bronx back in May.
What's your ethnicity, by the way?
I'm multi.
Because I'm hearing black in your voice.
Yeah, well, I'm half.
You're half black. See, I got a good ear. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, but if you look at me,
you're blacker than Kamala.
Well, exactly.
That wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, but if you look at me,
Obama's half black.
Yeah, he's. Yeah, you're right. He is African, and his mother's
white girl from Kansas. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the Obama complexion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an embarrassment for I'm like I said, I'm out on the ground often in New York City, even in certain parts of Connecticut.
Let me tell you what I think's going on, Marcus, and you can disagree with it or not. Okay. How old are you?
I am 45.
Okay, 45. You're old enough to get this. This is what I think has happened in the last 10 or 15 years. We've had racial equality in many ways in this country for decades, but in the last 15 years or so, I think as a community, the black community, we finally have achieved economic equality. Like black parents and grandparents can leave their house to their kids and grandkids. You understand what I mean? So we've reached economic equality. And when people reach the middle class or upper middle class, they don't want to give their money to a bunch of freeloaders, whether it's Renee in Harlem or a bunch of Venezuelan gang members in New York that are living in a hotel. And I think the reason that the black vote is going so Trump this time around is because we finally achieved that final level of economic equality among blacks in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would 100% agree, because another thing, too, if you ask the, folks in the black community, they're not into that whole woke stuff, first of all. They're not into the illegals coming into the to their neighborhoods, taking over basically. And there's a list, the economy, the list goes on. So the black community, at one point they were saying, oh, if you're black, you got to vote for Democrat, but that's like completely out the window now. The black community is more focused on their families, their back to their faith,
Well, I'll tell you another thing. The black family, the Democrats destroyed the black family, right, with all the welfare in the 60s and 70s. But the black family's back together now, right? It's not like it used to be. This idea that 80% of black children are born in fatherless homes, I don't think that's the case anymore. I think you got a strong mother, father, stereotypical nuclear family. There's a lot of that too.
And also, you see the younger black males now, like I'm talking about, like in the 20s. I see them all the time now, taking their kids to the parks, to riding their bikes on the beach somewhere. So it's shifting. I think it's shifting back prior to what is it,
LGBTQ plus.
Yeah. It is what it is, but.
So this poll out in New York. Okay, it's 40% of black likely vote. I think a lot of blacks are afraid to say that they're voting for a Republican. So I would put it at 48 or 50% in New York going to Trump easily.
They probably are a little afraid, but they won't. Some of them, like I said, when I go out, some of them don't. Right? You could tell they're not for Harris and Walsh because they say, "Well, she's not black," and they'll say little things, but they won't. They don't. I mean, I wear my MAGA hat out, so.
Yeah, but you're in Connecticut. Hey, listen, I appreciate the call. I'm going to move on, but I appreciate the call, and call us again. All right. Take care. Let's squeeze in another one for you. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
James from Boca.
Hey, James.
Hey, guys. Good morning. As far as polls go, everything that I've seen online, or basically, I guess, online, shows Trump 72% or better. But when you watch the news, it's 50-50 or 49, 50.
Well, they hate they hate Trump. That's why the bias. I mean.
And the guy with education, like you said earlier, Brian, I've met many men that were highly educated. And I think the word is common sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A little bit short on that sometimes.
But, Greg's call in the first hour, I have never heard someone think they're so intellectually superior, openly discuss it like that with such passion. It was not one of his better moments. Although it was very revealing and honest.
I climbed towers for 20 years, 202,000 feet. So my job basically makes your job, possible. Towers, you wouldn't be on the radio.
Well, the thing about what happened with Greg, he'll retract all this next time he calls, I'm sure. He was angry and pissed off. So you don't hear me lose my cool too. When you're debating and you lose your cool, it's over for you. Because you lose your inhibitions. I appreciate the call. All right, take care. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our first break of the last hour and be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Oh! I missed my cue. It's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. What do you have for us this morning?
First of all, I just want to wish everyone who's celebrating Rosh Hashanah this week a Happy New Year. And today I wanted to talk about the fact that a lot of people out there may have wills, and that's good for a lot of people. That may be sufficient planning. But one of the things that people may get confused about is what is a will and what is a trust, what are the differences, and what some of the key things are. Number one, a will only becomes effective at the time of your death, meaning it doesn't help you during your lifetime. So it's really a plan for death, and it will make sure that the assets go where you want it to go, but it will. The other main difference is it goes through probate. So the will makes it so that there's going to be a probate at your death, and should you become incapacitated, of course, during your lifetime, the will doesn't help you, whereas a living trust, a revocable living trust, can help you with both of those things. Should you lose your mental capability during your lifetime, your successor trustee that's named in the trust can step right in and make decisions, handle things for you without having to go to court, without having to go to guardianship, without having to deal with judges and attorneys. And at your passing, your family won't have to deal with the horrors of probate and deal with judges, courts, legal expenses, lawyers, all of those things. And that's why a lot of people who may have assets, like if you have a home, if you own real estate, if you have any other any significant assets whatsoever, you may want to consider having a trust for that reason. And there's many other reasons we're not going to have time for this on this call, but of course we do hold our workshops regularly. We actually have one today as well, and you can get a lot more information by attending one of our.
Yeah, and I imagine that probate can get expensive and eat up an estate oftentimes, Barry.
You really have to decide. Do you want to make, you want to make the lawyer a partial beneficiary of your estate? If so, that you can give them a lot of money as far as probate fees. That money would have gone to your family, but if you're dealing with probate, you're going to be paying the courts and paying lawyers, spending a lot of money that you.
Hello? Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, give Attorney Barry Siegel a call. Remember, it is a no-charge consultation with the Siegel Law Group. If you mention you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the program, and no matter where you are in the state of Florida, the Siegel Law Group can help you. Their number, 855-FLA-3782, 855-FLA-3782, and online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we'll talk later in the week.
All right, thank you.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Callers on hold, stand by. I'm Brian. Steve is here. Oh man, so lots of great news in the polls. Everything's looking great. And then tonight is the debate, and I almost feel bad for J.D. Vance because all the expectations on J.D. Vance are so high. There's zero expectations for Tim Walz. You know what I mean? So, and I know that Tim Walz is new to you and me. We've only known about him for a few weeks, this CCP asset. But as the Trump campaign pointed out, he's held public office for 20 years. So he's been a seasoned politician who's been in a lot of debates. J.D. Vance has only been like in one debate, maybe two, and he's only been in politics for 2 years. You know what I mean? So I don't think J.D. Vance is going to have a problem tonight. But this is not Tim Walz's first rodeo. Just because he's new to us doesn't mean he's new to politics, right? And he's a real scummy guy. He had a fundraiser he was at in New York, a private fundraiser. CNN had a reporter there. It was private. And he told the donors what his debate strategy was. And the CNN reporter reported on it yesterday. He said Tim Walz told a private fundraising group in New York City that his strategy in the debate was going to be that he would not answer any questions. So what that means is they ask him a question, he's going to answer whatever question he wanted them to ask as opposed to what they really ask. Which is, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly with J.D. Vance. I haven't seen J.D. Vance in a debate with an opponent. I'm assuming he did a debate when he ran for the Senate. I've not seen him debate. But I've seen him in a lot of interviews with these liberal reporters, and that's a debate, and I've seen him clean every one of their clocks. And he's gone up against all the top ones on the Sunday shows. So I have no problem. I don't think J.D. Vance is going to have a problem, but expectations are so high for him, and JD, there are less than zero expectations for Walz. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Paul from New York. Gentlemen, did you hear this morning on a broadcast that California is going to...
That's fine. That's fine. It's not going to change anything. It'll still go dim, no matter what they do. California is going to go Democrat no matter what they do. Illegals, no ID. Let Gavin Newsom have his little tantrum out there. I don't worry about California's going blue. There's nothing we can do to stop it. No, it's not legal. It's not legal. But Democrats don't care about the law. No. I don't think California sets any precedents for anything. They set precedents on how not to do things. Steve, I only worry about the things I can control and that matter. And California, no matter what you do, is going to go for Kamala. First off, she's from California. It's a liberal state. It's going to go blue. So I'm not going to worry and get distracted on California. I mean, what are we going to do? We got to focus in on where we can make some inroads, like New York. You know what's going on in New York. While who knows, Trump could win New York, but it'll certainly have an effect on local races, House races. Local races throughout the state. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
John from Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Hey, John.
How we doing, guys?
All right.
So I woke up this morning, jumped right on X, and I went to Google, of course, because we all use. And I Googled, is it lawful?
Who's going to arrest him?
Our simple law.
Who? No. Who? Okay. I'll tell you why I'm not talking about the issue, other than it's a waste of time because it's California. But let's say what Newsom's doing is a crime where he could be arrested. What office holder would have the authority to arrest the governor of California for such a thing?
Good question.
Whoever they are, it's a Democrat. Was it Merrick Garland? The Attorney General of California, I'm sure, is a Democrat. They're not. It's none of that's going to happen. But let me tell you what's going on. Why do you think Newsom's doing that? It's a wasted effort because no matter what, California's going to go blue. Why do you think Newsom's doing this?
Just to make it a law for the future.
No. To discourage MAGA voters from turning out in other states thinking it's a waste of time, that they're going to swamp us and we're not going to swamp them. That's why. It's to discourage our turnout elsewhere. Oh, it's such a waste of time. They're going to swamp us with all these people. Well, stay home. That's what it's about. That's why I'm not talking about it. And it's having an impact on you and the caller before you. That's why Newsom's doing it.
I guess it was a wake up. We all woke up this morning and saw it because I went to bed last night early and
it's a desperate propaganda tactic from the Democrats. Because a lot of people, and it's everywhere, right? A lot of people like you see that, and then what do you think? Oh, it's over. It doesn't matter how far Trump's ahead. He can't win because of this, right? Don't you understand? It's psychological warfare.
Gotcha.
I still don't understand it fully. I mean, I suppose it's good for law, but I mean, to me, law, the way I see it, law is based on precedent. And if you set a new precedent, bodes ill. What we're trying to accomplish.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm talking about why Governor Newsom is doing this. And he's doing it for the reason I said, to discourage MAGA people from around the country. Our strategy is based on a lot of things, but mainly it's swamp them at the polls. We want 100 million voter turnout. Newsom does something like this. It's all over the news, and look at the impact it's had on our last two MAGA people that called in. Oh, it's such a waste of time. They're going to swamp us with this. By the way, I learned something yesterday about the Venezuelan gangs, the ones we're seeing in Aurora, Colorado, and Chicago. They're not just regular gangs. They're prison gangs. Prison gang. It's a prison gang. These are that have been released from the prisons and sent here. This is a gang that was formed in the Venezuelan prisons. Okay? And when they've emptied out the prisons, they've reconnected here in Estados Unidos. That's crazy. That's more dangerous than just your regular gang, a prison gang. I mean, that's why they don't wear masks. They're totally fearless. All right, listen, we're going to take our break for the top of the hour. By the way, what I shared with those last two callers, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But I think that's what's going on. It's to discourage MAGA voters by thinking they're going to swamp us. All right, our number is 1-888-465-2631. We'll take our break for the bottom of the hour and be right back.
Making morning radio great again. You're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. The greatest rock and roll hits of the 60s and 70s coming up this morning. From the all-year cooling weather center, South Florida's #1 choice for same-day AC service and installation. Here's your oldies forecast. Morning, everybody. My name is Michael Marone from the all-year cooling weather center. Today is Tuesday, October 1st. Weather brought to you by All Year Cooling. Enjoy free AC replacement estimates along with same-day service and installation. Visit allyearcooling.com to schedule your service today. And remember, the All Year family is here to serve your family all year long. And now, a true oldies traffic check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Turnpike North and South delays between Summit Boulevard and Lakeward Road at 95 South. Slow through towards the Boulevard past Point Beach Boulevard. This traffic update is sponsored by LifeLock. October Cybersecurity Awareness Month. One way to help protect yourself is updating your passwords. Using the same one for multiple accounts can make you vulnerable to cyber predators. But for comprehensive identity theft protection, you need LifeLock. Start a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/cybersafety. That's traffic at no cost.
Traffic, a service of the Palm Beach Kennel Club. Catch the PBKC Picks live podcast every Wednesday morning starting at 10 a.m. Catch football Sundays at the Paddock Restaurant with a delicious all-you-can-eat buffet and a draft beer for just $25. And get this deal for free by calling 561-683-2222 extension 199. That's great food, drink specials, all the games on over 140 HD TVs and big screens. Every football Sunday in the Paddock. PBKC's upcoming shows include the Pure Zeppelin Experience October 11th, Let It Be November 8th, Jimmy Fallon November 15th and 16th, and Penny Nicks November 22nd. Go to pbkennelclub.com. Are you feeling safe and secure in your home? Unfortunately, millions of Americans are vulnerable to break-ins every year. But what if you can have peace of mind knowing that your home is protected 24/7? And Sloan, we understand the importance of home security. That's why we're offering a free home security system with free professional installation. When you use our low-cost central station monitoring, our top-of-the-line systems are designed to detect intruders and alert authorities and give you real-time updates right to your smartphone. And with our state-of-the-art monitoring center, you'll have 24/7 protection from any threat. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your home and family and your valuables with Sloan's comprehensive home security solutions. Call 1-833-283-5050 today to schedule your free installation and start sleeping better tonight. Sloan's, protecting what matters most. Call 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050 now.
Yeah.
At Sloan's, we understand the importance of home security.
Tina asked about it yesterday, and I was like, seems to be going good.
Yeah, it helps.
We've been grafting, we've been doing it, so she's just gonna keep sending it through email. I'm just gonna put
I know it's an extra step, but it's, you know.
Listen, I'd rather take the extra step than not do anything at all. So it makes it easy and helps the show.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Heirs, single-family homes, large HOA complexes, and churches with great success, and every one of those customers are like family. We have installed all kinds of roofs from isolate shingles, clay, and concrete tile, standing metal seam, slate tile, and flat roof systems. So come on and let our family take care of your family. Call me on my cell at 954-604-4602 or find us on the web at laportacontracting.com. The number again is 954-604-4602.
Hi, I'm Sloan Smith. We love our Florida sunshine, but a hot house? Definitely not. At All Year, we offer same-day AC service and installation. Need to stay cool? Yes, all year. Need help today? Yes, all year. Zero down financing? Yes, all year. We're South Florida's #1 for comfort because our family is serving your family all year. Call us today at 833 all year. That's 833 all year.
Hello, this is Mike at Friendly Tire. I've been in business 30 years at the same location and offering great deals on new and used tires. I have many suppliers. Whatever car or truck you have, I can get you incredible deals on anything. I also do tire repairs at very low prices. Give me a call. My number is 954-977-9445. I will give you a price over the phone on new and used tires. Again, my number is 954-977-9445. Thank you.
Now, back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Gray.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Steve is here. You know, Steve, some other good news. One thing I like about getting old, you're much older than me, so I don't know, you may not agree with this, but one thing I like about getting older is you get a lot more perspective on things. Don't you? I mean, you know what I mean? You really do. You see the big picture. And there's a beautiful thing that's going on that is no accident. The strike of the port workers, right? 45,000 dock workers are on strike from sea to shining sea, right? And by the way, more are going to join them. And they're saying that this is expected to be the largest dock worker strike in the history of America. This is not a coincidence, okay? This is being timed to, again, show the weakness of Kamala Harris and Biden. If Kamala Harris were like a real viable candidate, even like say Newsom, right? If Newsom was the Democrat nominee, okay, he's not. We got Willie Brown's girlfriend. If Newsom were the Democrat nominee and was the sitting vice president and was running for president and we're a month out from the election and the dock workers went on strike, he'd be there in person, talking to them in person on the line. On TV, he'd be doing it. And then he'd have a sit-down with the leaders, and he'd come out with an agreement and get it over. Kamala Harris, what she knows is this. The rent's due. I don't have enough money. Let me call my boyfriend. We'll go out on a date, and then the rent will get taken care of. You can't run the country that way. And there was a poll. I think we talked about it on Friday, but it might have been yesterday. There's so much good news, I can't tell the difference, But I think it was on Friday's show, there was a poll of the union households. It was the Teamsters. The Teamsters households was majority Trump. The union vote in this country is majority Trump. And the reason it is because they know the Democrats have pushed all the jobs to China. And these union guys, they want their kids and grandsons to have jobs on the dock or at the factory. And they know they're not going to be here with the Democrats. They know they'll be here with Trump. And I don't think this dock worker strike is just out of the blue. All of a sudden, they're fighting against the automation. I get that, but automation isn't new. They've been doing it for over 100 years. This is part of the October surprise.
Now I'm first confused. What is the surprise exactly? The surprise is
Yeah.
In the pockets of Trump?
I don't think, I think they're doing it to help Trump. I don't think Trump is coordinating a strike, but I think that they're doing it right now to help Trump. Yes. Yes. I think the dock workers union are doing this to help Trump. Yes. Because the surprise.
It does help Trump. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it does.
It does help Trump. The surprise is another crisis that Kamala Harris is going to sit around and do nothing about.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question. The faiths, if nothing else, are loaded against.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's no question.
Let me tell you, if Trump was the sitting president right now and he was up for re-election and J.D. Vance was the sitting vice president and they're running for re-election, Trump and J.D. would be out there meeting with the dock workers today. In person, outside, on television.
Settling it.
Exactly. Kamala, only thing she knows about the dock is that's where all her Amazon products have come through from China. She doesn't know anything about it. And remember, yeah,
obvious.
Yeah, and this one's going to be a big deal because this is one. See, the October surprises don't come the week before anymore because there's so much early voting. Over 400,000 have already voted. Okay. And people are voting every day. So the October surprise is an ongoing thing through Election Day. So there's no big October surprise at the last minute anymore. There's a bunch of them. Like yesterday, that government investigation and the Tim Walz came out on the eve of the debate, for example. A crisis that, and Biden, no matter what anybody tells you, he's pissed off that they forced him out. Okay? And he's getting more pissed off about it all the time because it's getting closer to the end of his presidency and people don't care about him anymore and the money train stops, okay? When he's out of office, the money stops. They're not going to give the big guy 10% anymore because he can't do anything for him. Exactly. So he is more, so even if he could, if Biden were back in his prime right now, he wouldn't help Kamala and settle this dock worker strike. Back in the day, he could. Now he, can't even do anything. But back in his day, he could have met with them and ended it. He won't do that now because he doesn't want to help her. And she doesn't know what to do. Exactly. So this is another, so we've got two major crises going on right now, right? This dock worker strike's a big deal. It's a big deal because it's the supply chain, right? So things are going to not to be coming. The warehouses are going to start to run out of things. You're not going to get same-day delivery from Amazon if this goes on too long. And that'll piss people off. You've got the hurricane that's going on, right? She's done what she did yesterday was insane. She came out. Let me play this clip, Steve. Here's an example. This is also from CNN.
Kamala Harris is today. She's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst.
Oh, by the way, I forgot this. This is CNN is going over the poll of the union workers of America, right? All unions. So that isn't Teamsters or dock workers. This is all unions, which would include SEIU and all that stuff.
But look at where Kamala Harris is today. She's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst Democratic performance in a generation, 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who, of course, won 4 years ago, was sort of that union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark.
Okay, yeah, so she's lost 10 points of the union vote from 4 years ago. Think about that, right? Bill Clinton had 30 points above the Republican. She's down to 9. They're in big, big trouble. Big trouble, and it's beautiful. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Steve and Brian. It's JJ from...
Hey, JJ, what up?
JJ.
Hey, Steve, Brian. Thinking about this 40% thing is coming into line with what I've been thinking for a pretty long time. And actually, I think Barbara saying 50% and possibly even higher. And I know, Brian, you spoke about one of the reasons was that the American dream, so to speak, that they have got to a point now, blacks in America have got to a point where they can leave the house, to grandma and grandpa, leave it, etc. The economic part of that equation, a little bit there, but I think that a much bigger part of it is, Brian, people hate being lied to. Okay, they hate it, and they're starting. And the Democrat voters, a lot of them, they're starting to figure out Okay, these Democrats, the truth will set them free, but it's going to send all these liars to hell, and hell's going to be a busy place.
Well, there's a few things. Okay, the thing here in where do you're not a Florida guy. You always say Massachusetts, right? But you're in Florida a lot. Are you in Florida ever?
For like 15 years.
Okay. In Florida, what I've noticed in Florida in the last 10 years is we have a lot more black tourists than we ever had. Okay? And that's because black people can't afford to go on expensive vacations to Disney World, right? Or to South Beach and stay at the Fontainebleau, okay? It never used to be that way years ago. That's the economic equality. That's where I started seeing it. I've talked about that for years. But there's another aspect in New York in particular. A lot of liberal blacks are voting for Trump because they're pissed off at the illegals getting the reparations and getting set up in the hotels. Okay, so there's a lot of that too. So just because they're voting for Trump doesn't mean they're Republican, right? Just because they say they're voting for
Yeah, no, there's. I mean, I look at that 40%, 50%. I look at well, there's likely voters, but the eligible voters, I think, for blacks in America is up like, I don't know, 30, 35 million. Just let's say it's 30 million. And Trump during the last election got 8%. Let's say he got 10% of that 30 million. So he got 3 million votes. If he's at 40%, he's getting another 9. He's going to get 9 million more votes nationally if that statistic stays true. And that 9 is really a double effect because they lose one, we gain one. That's like 18 million swing.
Yeah, all these numbers early in the morning are making my eyes bleed. But you're right. We're going to win big, and the Democrats usually have 85 to 92% of the black vote, in particular in New York and places like that. 85 to 92, depending on the election. And for him to have 40% openly saying they're voting for him of the black vote in New York tells me the trend around the country has to be maybe 50% nationwide of the black vote's going to go to Trump, and in the non-blue states, and there's mm-hmm.
If the Democrats were to, lose like X percent.
5% of the black vote.
Yeah,
correct.
There's a big difference between 8% and 40.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more than 5.
It's massive. All right, I got to run, JJ, but you make some good points. I want to talk. Today will be a week today that Angel Water came to my house and installed the entire water filtration system in my home. And I'm going to give you their number at the end of the message here. You want to call them, have Rocky come out and test your drinking water. He tested mine, and it scared the living daylights out of me, what I was drinking, okay? Angel Water will make your water healthier. And by the way, it's all the water in the house. It filters the water before it enters the house. It's not just my sink in my kitchen. It's all the water in all of my appliances, my refrigerator, my dishwasher, my hot water tank, my washing machine, my showers, my bathtubs, even the toilet. It all is filtered before it comes into the house. And I was talking with Richie one day last week about how often we got to replace dishwashers, right, and washing machines. Well, that's because of that poison water that's filled with these forever chemicals that are eroding your appliances. Your appliances that have water going through them, the washing machines, etc., they will last longer, including the water heater. Oh my goodness, will they last longer with Angel Water. And by the way, Angel Water's system takes out a whole bunch of toxins that these other systems you've heard about over the years don't take out. Those forever chemicals are the poisons that you're drinking. They're very dangerous, and that's not according to me. That's according to the EPA. And they have an incredible offer for listeners of our radio station. Listen to this. I'm going to give you their number in a moment. When you call Angel Water, you're going to get a free under-the-sink reverse osmosis system, which I have, okay, with the purchase of your whole house refiner. I have the whole house refiner, and I have that reverse osmosis system under the sink as well. And 12 months no interest financing and no prepayment penalty. So give Angel Water a call and have Rocky come out and test your water. By the way, that water testing, no charge for that. 561-899-6585. 561-8, but that was an email I'm getting, guys. I got my computer hooked up to the board, so if anyone's checking their email, that's mine. 561-899-6585. 561-899-6585. Give Angel Water a call. 561-899-6585. Make sure you tell them you heard about them from me. We'll be right back.
The cold, hard truth. Delivered morning 6 to 9.
All right, it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman, Incorporated in Boca, with the morning gold and precious metals report. How's gold and silver looking today, William Youngerman?
Metals are looking very good today. The buying opportunity that we had yesterday is disappearing very quickly. So we saw gold take a drop of $23.90 yesterday, closing out the day at $2,634 the ounce. Silver was down 51 cents at $31.10. Platinum lost $21 at $9.79, and palladium was down $12 at $9.86. As I've said before, these pullbacks and buying opportunities don't last very long. We get real small corrections in these markets, but the market is poised to go much higher. And gold trading overnight in a range of 26.31 all the way up to 26.57. Right now, gold's at 26.54. That's up $20. Silver up 20 cents at $31.30 the ounce. Platinum up $13 at $9.92. And palladium up $4 at $990. So markets are very stable and doing very well concerning the way they're trading. The base building, the strength that we see in this market is one of the strongest markets we've seen in many years.
Absolutely. You know, you've been talking about what some of the best deals are on gold and silver a lot lately. Let me ask you about fractional gold. When it comes to fractional gold, are there some good deals right now when you're talking about the premiums?
Yeah, you can get the smaller gold half-ounce, quarter-ounce, 10th-ounce gold coins in many of the different country formats, as well as the smaller gold bars, 1-ounce gold bars, half-ounce, all the way down to 1 gram gold bars. So that's 1/31st of an ounce of gold. So there's something for everybody in bars.
Absolutely. And William Youngerman does something that is very unique in his industry. William Youngerman will buy back any of the metals you purchase from him. And that's really amazing, William Youngerman.
Precious metals and make a market and have for over two-way market.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you have to have bought them from him to sell them to him, because he does buy as well. But whatever you buy from him, he will buy back. His number, he opens up at 10 a.m., is 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. His address in Boca is 150 East Palmetto Park Road, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. And you can find both his address and phone number on his website, WilliamYoungerman.com, WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a good.
Okay, we are back. You back with us, Steve? Yes, you are. No, you're back. If you're on hold, stand by. I got a little video came out of Tim Walz, and coincidentally, on the eve of the great debate with J.D. Vance. Let me cue this up. He's got some explaining to do, Tim Walz.
We have more refugees per capita than any other state. That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school.
How does that work? If your kid goes to school, and maybe you know, Steve, I don't have an answer to this. If your kid goes to like your kids went to Cooper City High School, right? Okay, Cooper City High School.
Well,
your grandkids go to this school too? Okay, so if they go to school and 50 languages are spoken, how do they conduct education? How do you teach kids in Babel High School, where when they're speaking 50 different languages?
What about it? It's interesting you asked.
It doesn't sound like it would be functional, does it? You know,
Do you have any?
No. Well, they're not going to Tim Walz's school in Minnesota either, where he's welcoming in all the illegal. You know, here's the thing. All right. One of the things that they don't do anymore, they used to teach when I was in school that America's a melting pot. They stopped teaching that about 30 years ago. What they've been teaching is America's a tossed salad, unique pieces, very different, and there's no immersion. And I've mentioned this many times. My great-grandfather's from Greece. No one in my family speaks Greek. He wouldn't teach anyone Greek. My wife's family's from Italy. No one speaks Italian because they wanted them to be Americans and learn English. You know, this new thing that's going on, I don't know what they speak in Somalia, but that's what they're speaking in the schools over there. Do they speak Somali, or is there some other language? I don't know. But I do know this, that if you don't have a common language, you don't have a country. I mean, how can you have a function? It's bad. It's hard enough with the Spanish and the English, right? But if in the little bit of Braille that's on all the public buildings, if you have schools, like he says in Minnesota, where 50 languages are spoken, those are not functioning schools. Okay? I remember when I was in high school, we had two sisters from France. They didn't speak a lick of English, nothing. And they were forced to do the total immersion. They just dropped them off. Their parents dropped them off in the school, and, you know, by the second year, they spoke some English, right? You know, that's how it used to be. You know, what kind of drain is it on your child's education, right? Remember, in the Navy, a fleet is only as fast as its slowest ship, right? So if your kid is going to... It's true. Well, I didn't make that up, you know. No, I saw it in a movie, you know. But I don't know. I've heard that all my life. I don't know where that came from. If your kid is going to a school in Minnesota and they're speaking 50 languages, everything has to be slowed down for that. How does your child get a proper education when they're spending all their time trying to translate these 50 languages? Correct. They don't. It's not a functioning education system. He's got some explaining to do tonight, Tim Walls. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Yes.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all my MAGA family. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Brian Craig, for all the help.
Yes.
And sharing my the needs. I still need help. I have until the 5th. But I want to say something. Independents, undecided, it's time to wake up, people. We need President Donald J. Trump. I'm asking everyone to pray. There's no time to play no games anymore. We see everything, what's happening. We need him. And I'm just asking all MAGA, pray without ceasing. If you don't pray, start. We don't want anyone messing with this election. Small business owner. We have to keep believing.
That's true. That's right. All right. I appreciate the call. You are right on the money. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to talk about the free doorbell camera offer from Sloman's with the installation of your Sloman Shield. This is a great offer, guys, and if you've not yet taken advantage of it, you should. This offer will end without notice, okay? But they're not just going to give you the free doorbell camera with the installation of their Sloman Shield. When you use their low-cost central station monitoring, Sloman's is also going to give you an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts. The contacts are for the doors and the windows, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, plus a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Here's the number. Give them a call. 1-833-283-5050. 1-833-283-5050. That's 1-833-283-5050. All right, back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian, how are you today? You know, it just shows you a guy like Tim Walsh, these guys, what a nut job this guy is. Anybody thinks 50 different languages being spoken in the classroom is going to work is totally out to lunch. I think back about several years ago, they had like 20 different dialects of Vietnamese, I think, in Southern California or someplace. It was a disaster. How is anybody going to learn a thing? It's just a recipe for total calamity. No one...
Well, Tower of Babel.
It's a recipe for what you've got.
Yeah. And this is the continuity we're going to have from this, too. They're just out. I hope Vance nails him on this one tonight because he thinks that's great.
Well, I'm not trying. Listen, I'm not trying to lower the expectations. I never lower expectations. However, and the Trump I heard The Trump, no, well, the Trump campaign have been talking about this, and I heard somebody on Fox saying this from the Trump campaign this morning before I came to work. J.D. Vance has been in politics for 2 years. Tim Walz has been elected for over 20. So he has been in a whole bunch of debates. He's new to us, so we think he's some new kid on the block that they found at the local commie meeting. This guy's run for Congress a whole bunch of times. He's run for governor. He's been in a whole bunch of debates. J.D. Vance maybe has done 2, maybe. So, yeah.
Politician, not.
Well, debate. If those of you that are longtime listeners of mine, I was a little different on the air with these callers when I first started out. It was in reverse. The calls handed me my lunch. Okay, remember those days, Steve? So with debate, there comes practice and skill. But J.D. Vance, I've seen him debate all these top reporters, like that girl on Meet the Press. And she's one of the biggest liberals ever. I forgot her name. The one that they fired Chuck Todd for.
Yeah.
You know what? In NBC, they took Chuck Todd's show away from him, gave it to that girl, and then they make him come in as a guest on his own show. They humiliate him.
Yeah.
They're trying to get him to quit, I think.
I think so.
And he's right, yeah.
Just imploding, and their lack of empathy for the people of the United States has really come across.
But Tim Walz could. What I'm telling you is there's less than zero expectations for Tim Walz. He's been in dozens of debates. He's got a lot of experience. He could surprise you. The worst thing that J.D. Vance could do would be confident that he can whoop him. But J.D. Vance is. I've seen him with these reporters. He's filleted every single one of them. But still, you go up against a guy with 20 years of debate experience, and you're a newbie. You got to be careful.
I think Trump placed the right guy in the bullpen down the road in 28 and that. I think Vance will be seasoned. It's almost his apprenticeship, and I think he's the guy. He's the guy down the road for MAGA.
He's going to be the second MAGA president unless he screws up. I'll tell you this, though. I got a job for Ron DeSantis when he's out of office, and he would be good heading up FEMA. He seems to do well in hurricane disasters, but other than
I don't know. He would have been the sitting guy he would have been in the catbird seat if he had just not run for president.
Either that, or he can open up a store on South Beach teaching drag queens how to walk in high heels. That's about it. All right, appreciate the call. I complimented him. I took a swipe too, but you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hey, Lynn.
Hey, good morning. So I'm listening to your show, and I'm saying they keep throwing things at the kids in the schools. No wonder the kids are so dumb today, because they get so much stuff thrown at them, and they can't even absorb the first thing. And now you're saying all these languages that they want to have in the schools, everything. Whatever happened to, if you want to live in America, know how to speak English?
Oh, you're an ethnocentric racist.
No.
That's what they would say. Those days are over. That's what they would say.
Italian and Irish. And my Italian grandfather didn't even like it when my brother started learning
Italian. Exactly. Well, listen, we're out of time, but I learned long ago never to disagree with the Italians, right, Steve? That's true. That's right. Okay. I didn't say it, she did, and she's Italian. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
WSFS 104.3 HD3 Miramar. WIRK 103.
All right, guys, if you're new, subscribe, okay? And if you're already subscribed, please like the video. I'll see you later.